Welcome back, everybody. Here we are once again at the PUBG Mobile European Women's League. I am Nitra. Hello. And I'm joined by Highland for week 2 of season 3. How are you, Highland?
Look, I'm doing good. It's been a busy weekend. I've been enjoying the weekend, and now I'm ready for some even better PUBG Mobile action through Mondays to Wednesday to start my week off. I mean, Neptura, there couldn't be a better way to start off my weeknights here after a long, hard day of university work, let me tell you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're in for a real treat tonight. We have 5 more games like we had last week. But got a whole new round of teams, right? We've got another group rotation coming through here. We're going to be working through A, B, and C over the next 3 nights. But tonight we have Group A and B, and both of those groups have teams we saw last week.
Look, I mean, both of these teams, or both groups of these teams, should I say, they've got big contenders. I mean, we're looking at, of course, those teams that topped the standings in last week's games, the Mad Bulls, Lakers, right, with their rise this season as well. We've also got some underdogs potentially, though, coming in as well. So into
Yeah.
this group specifically, the likes of Nagapators, AOR Silently, who just made it in, they're going to now be up against the likes of Dreamers, Galatasaray, who didn't quite do enough to get through to those finals straight away. So there's still
Yeah.
those deadly teams and those deadly players that I think they've got to really prove themselves now up against.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think we're going to be looking at a few more of those teams. We can talk a little bit about them more coming up. But yeah, there's only going to be so many games, right? Because we're still doing 5 games per
Yeah.
night. So definitely going to be a big one coming in here. And yeah, you're right. We do have big teams coming in here, like Galatasaray, like the Mad Bulls, I believe, is also on the list as well. So they're coming in here and they all get to play against each other, which is going to bring a whole new thing as well. As we look at our map schedule, here you go for Group A versus B. Erangel, Miramar, Sandhawk, Miramar, Erangel, the exact same. So at least we have that going for us. And I do have to correct, Mabbles is not here, but we do have, I should probably just go ahead and list them out now. Now's as good a time as any. We have Dreamers Esports, Barce Esports, Fairway, Langer's Bliss, Sly Machine, Flex, Bonfire, TPES. And then in Group B, we also have Shockwave, Foreign, Fatemlek Slayers, AOR Silently, Galatasaray, God of Anarchy, Denise Bank Wildcats, and the KR Lionesses. So big names in there all coming together in tonight's games.
Yeah, I mean, even Group C as well. We've got Nexus Gaming, we've
Mm-hmm.
got 27 Plus G, K12 Ladies, Star Wars CIS Girls, A3 Femme Fatale, Star Blossom, Inco Gaming, and of course, Nagabators. Excellent. They were all randomized into the 3 respective groups
Mm-hmm.
now, and these teams they'll play intermittently. We imagine here between 2 groups coming in, one team sitting out, then replacing those as the day goes on. And
Mm-hmm.
looking here in Neptura, I'm really curious about, especially again, about Sanhok Miramar, these maps. Now, Erangel, they were pretty standard when we were looking at these maps and how teams
Mm-hmm.
were participating, of course. They sort of favorite teams that we saw the teams that did well last season do well again on the Green Hills. Now, though, in Miramar and Sanhok, this season it's been a little bit chaotic, especially Sanhok. Of
Mm-hmm.
course, we get to have that big excitement, that chaos in the middle of the night where these teams really start to change up the standings. Miramar, though, is just as much as here a wrangle. And this is why I
Yeah.
think that really Miramar is going to be the highlight here, Neptura, of tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be a difficult game for sure. I think, you got so many variables that we talked about last week. And then, as you said, you got a lot of factors coming in here. I think we're going to see a lot of really interesting plays coming in there as well. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. It's going to be a good one. I really just want to get the games going right because then we'll know more about how the dynamic here is going to be working out. In terms of teams, though, I think we should talk a little bit about, kind of teams, what we expect from certain teams based off of week 1, Highland. And for me, I think Yeah, it's gotta be probably I'm looking at foreign esports. I think they did a really good job. They were bottom of the table coming into day number 4, I think, their last day, whichever group they were in their last day. And then we saw them absolutely dominate in the last game, last couple of games, and really get their points on the board and qualify. So, are you looking at a team in particular who may have a similar
Hmm.
effect in week 2?
Look, I mean, when you're looking at some of these teams, I mean, yeah, I think Foreign is one
Mhm.
of those teams that really speak out to me. They had that big performance coming into their last day of their group. I also think, though, similarly, we've seen some really good magic from the likes of A3 Femme Fatale, which is another one of these
Yeah.
teams who were low on the leaderboards, right? They also picked up, though, a chicken dinner in their first stage of the tournament. So we
Mhm.
know that they can have these good performances. And I believe they even had a good follow up game after that. It's whether they can keep that consistency, right? Because now we're
Mhm.
coming into only 15 games here for these teams in this second stage. There's going to
Yeah.
be a whopping 14 teams eliminated after this stage
Mm.
as well. So that consistency, you have to be able to keep that going for your squad because without that, you can have a good game here or there. If you're not in that top 10 by the end of this stage, you're not
Yeah.
going to be going through.
Yeah, that is exactly it. It's you thought week 1 was really hard, right? You had some big teams in there. You had a lot of difficult things happening, especially with those zones. This got a whole lot harder. So just good luck to all of you because man, it's going to be a whirlwind few days. I think a lot of teams are going to be trying to get as many points as possible. So I'm really looking forward to as many fights as possible, as many quick rotations, getting in there, getting done, starting the business early, which I think we're going to be seeing here, probably out of the gate.
Look, I mean, when we're coming out of the gate, Erangel, you're looking at some of these favorites, right? Galatasaray, we've mentioned already. They've had their
Mhm.
big performance already over there. I also think, sneakily enough, you've got the likes of KR Lionesses in that same group who also were coming
Mhm.
back into form in that second day,
Yeah.
and especially in some of their Erangel games, right? So these are two of the teams that, when you're looking at the other end of the scoreboard, they're
Mhm.
also doing pretty well on these maps where there is that comfort, where there is that ability to go back to what they know. I would also say, though, on Group A, you've got to still the likes of Dreamers Esports because Dreamers Esports,
Mhm.
they just also barely missed out. And as one of these newer teams coming into season 3, they definitely packed a punch already in this first stage.
Yeah, 100%. I'm looking forward to Dreamers. You're right. They did a really good job. Another team for me is going to be TPES. We saw some really cool plays from them, especially over in the Erangel by Mount Everest. They really held a lot of control there for quite a long time. So I want to see how they're able to manage that maybe over on Miramar. If they like, if they don't aren't afraid of heights, then Miramar is the place for them for sure. But I think we got some really cool stuff coming up. I think we're going to be seeing groups. It's going to be A versus B, then A versus C, and then B versus C over on Wednesday as well. So lots of action packed stuff for you guys fairly soon. But Highland, let's talk quickly who
Mhm.
you're thinking maybe. Who do you think is going to come out on top out of the two teams we have so far tonight?
Ooh, now this is a hard prediction. You challenged me tonight here, Neptura.
I do.
I would have to say the favorite's definitely got to be Galatasaray, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're the reigning champions from last season. You expect
Yeah,
them to really come back through
you
with a
do
big
expect it.
performance in this stage
Yeah.
now coming into the finals. If there are upsets, I mean, we've mentioned these teams, right, who can be able to bring a little bit of energy in some of these games, especially on a wrangle. They
Mm-hmm.
have to be voter favorites coming in for sure this stage.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not something I can really argue with, right? Because you're right, Galatasaray coming in here as the mid-season champions, they've got a lot not necessarily to live up to, but they got big shoes to fill, but they're their own shoes, right? So it kind of
Yeah,
all works out in the end. Wildcats as well is going to be one I want to look at because I don't think, even though they did really well, I don't think they did as well as we've seen them do in the
yeah,
past. And I want to see a little bit more of the girls that I'm used to seeing come into the forefront for week 2. So they will have a few games, not as many as in week 1, but they will have a few games to try and rectify whatever was going on in week 1, because we normally see them top of the leaderboard, maybe second place, and they just wasn't there.
Look, I mean, this is the thing, right? Is they've only got these 3 days to be able to get into the finals. On top
Mm,
of that, though, they've also had to have been doing their homework because it's not just their own group that they're facing now. They've also got these other teams, right, in the
right.
other group that they're going to be facing, and then they're all mixed together on top of this. So game to game, it could also be pretty different in terms of the play
Yeah.
styles and also drop
Mm,
locations that these teams are going to be wanting to instantly go for or head towards. So it really comes down to how much of the research has been done for these teams. We don't want to see what we
yeah.
saw in stage one, where teams are hot dropping on each other, they get caught, they waste 10 minutes of their time, they don't even have the information for the mid game or the ability or loot
Mm,
for the mid game either, and then they all end up falling out. We saw that a few times, especially on Miramar. Is one of the ones we're watching that out for that type of issues to arise from.
yeah.
I'm hoping we don't see that though tonight.
Yeah, that would not be good. What happened to all of my internets? That's an interesting one. We're back. Okay. You cut out there at the very end there, but I think we're okay. I hope we're okay. Anyway, yeah, we're going to be starting the game here in just a second, but you make good points. Yeah, we don't want to see hot drops. We don't want to see stuff like that. We want to see changed gameplay. We want to see adaptation, right? And they've had what, since last Wednesday, right? So they've had a few days now where they should have gotten some work in, some analysis in, and they should have a new strategy or maybe just a few tweaks. But either way, we want to see a fresh start for these teams.
Look, I mean, when we're coming towards, I mean, we prepare here for the first game, this first wrangle, I also want to draw to the attention some of the teams, right, who are competing to get back into the
Mm,
finals as well. So as much as we've got these new teams coming in, we've also got the likes of Bonfire Esports, which is another one of these teams, are about the
mm,
middle of the pack. We've also got K12, who are going to be competing from last season as well. So
right.
we've got the veterans of some of these players who have been competing in previous PMEWLs. They'll know how stressful it can be coming into these finals. I'm hoping, because it seems to be that most teams have had a few veteran players and a few new players
Mm-hmm.
here. So I'm hoping that
Mm-hmm.
it'll be these veteran players who have competed at this level before coming to the finals and a place in those
Yeah.
finals, they'll be able to help those new players bridge now this gap as well. Because the pressure coming into this first day is going to be pretty big here in Eptura. And there's going to be a lot of pressure on this first game for teams having expectations of themselves, knowing that what they can do, how they've performed potentially so well in the first stage, and they want to repeat that coming into this now first game here today.
Well, plane path is going to be going over Sosnovka here as we look towards more of an eastern flight path coming into game number 1, but it's going to be fine. It's kind of straight down the middle, to be honest, as we look over to the map fairly quickly here. And we're going to watch them jump on out. Yeah, Langer's Bliss moving on out here. So we're going to have a little bit of a look-see as we see Langer's Bliss. They're going to be going down to Ferry Pier, so not a bad start for them so far. No one seems to be in their vicinity, so they're just going to be able to loot on up. But I think, when you get to this level, Highland, of competition, I think that's fairly standard, right? Where no one is really dropping near you. So the first few minutes, you're good to go.
Yeah, indeed. And this is exactly what we kind of expect coming in towards this first game. Not too much action. Teams want to be respectful. We want to get themselves settled in now as we start this new week, as we start the next stage of our tournament here. We do see some teams, though, alternatively, deciding to drop around each other. There are changes and adaptations these squads are making. So, for example, when you're looking towards Shockwave, they've now sent a few of them down towards Primorsk. So they'll try to avoid what's happening with the Langer's Bliss here on Ferry Pier. There are a scattering of players trying to move away around this middle portion, though. And that's where you maybe start to see, alternatively, these early game skirmishes start to occur. Shockwave, though, already within a fight or a drive, really. It's a really
Goodness.
dodgems, but they should get away here. No weaponry. It's only going to be equals, and they've each got one.
Nice, good, excellent. I mean, they don't need to lose anybody just yet, right? We're barely 30 seconds into the very first game. We don't need any deaths just go your own path and do your own thing, and you will see Shockwave decide to move over, probably down to Primorsk down there. It's a good spot. Nobody is in that vicinity, and that's what we saw when we saw that map feed just a second ago, right? There's a nice, solid zone, good entry for most of these teams. The teams that already are in there, aren't super close to each other. Yeah, you got a little bit of lapping here and there, but for the most part, everyone's keeping to themselves. They're trying to have a really solid start to the game, and that is a good idea, right? I mean, you don't want to go out early, or you don't want to lose a member early for no reason other than they got caught out on a loot phase, you know? Especially with this first game, you need a solid foundation, a solid start to get you into the momentum of building points from game one.
And I think also the mentality of this stage is something important to think about because if you're Group A or you're Group B here, I'd have to check which one does sit out later for Group C later
Mhm.
tonight. You have to remember though that some of these teams will be, if they have a bad performance, then sitting out the next game here in Neptura as well. And that's a really long time for those teams to be sitting on a bad performance before we can get back in onto the action, right? So this could really weigh on a team, and this could affect their mental coming future days, maybe coming towards that last day, especially where they all need these really good amounts of points time and time again through their final games.
Mhm. Sure thing. 1,100 meters for flex, so they probably have one of the longer rotations to move into. So we'll see how that goes for them. But yeah, as we loot on up, it's kind of chill, right? We're not gonna be talking about a whole lot here just because there ain't really nothing to talk about. These girls know what they're doing. We've not got any hot drops. We've not got any early clashes coming in here. They're all on their own. They're doing their own thing. Fairway does have a pretty large individual split coming across this lower farm area, but even that, Highland, I think is fairly normal when you get to this level of competition, unless there's somebody in one compound, you know, where the whole squad's in like that main compound of farm. You do tend to see a lot of split.
Yeah, and this is where these splits start to come in, especially with the zone though as well. Neptura, it was more at southern zone that we saw these teams trying to play around here for his first game. So expecting some more contention as well as teams come together around Gatka fields, maybe later on in around those buildings in the open area. That could also create some skirmish potential later in its mid game. Expecting, as you said, right, farm here on the other end. Ferry Pier as well could be an interesting one to see if Langr's Bliss will stay around the area and try to cut off a later team like Shockwave, who they know will be around that Primordial, and stop them from coming into that first, second phase.
I do like this area in general. I'm glad somebody that like Bonfire is actually taking it, right? The western compounds for me seem always so underrated, this western coastline in general. It's got so many good places, good bits of loot, small compounds. It's a really good spot. Another spot that's really underlooked is where Foreign is, and we talked a little bit about Foreign earlier. And I think they have a lot of potential. I think they've got a lot of potential to actually prove more than they have so far, right? Yes, they got into week 2 by the skin of their teeth, but I think they need to do a little more, and it's definitely something they can do.
I mean, this is also the thing is some of these teams, they had good individual performances, and this is what we have to always repeat coming into now stage 2 Neptura is teams, for the most part, they can all have a good game. And we've all seen a good game out of all 24 teams in this stage now. What we're looking for is teams to have consecutive good games. So because with only the top 10 going through, and as we also say, that mental of, well, if you have a bad game, you might be then sitting out to another game afterwards, and you've got about an hour maybe of where you're not playing also in the tournament that night. That can weigh in on your mental, that can affect then that consecutivity of points that you're trying to gather for yourself to keep yourself in that top 10. We've always got to remind ourselves in this stage that over half of the players will be leaving us at the end of these 3 nights. Not a lot of time for so many teams and so many players to be leaving.
No, 100%, especially when you have so few games, right? It's 10 games for a team. And when you think about how few that actually is and how many points you're able to get from that, you've got to really be so consistent if you want any sort of chance, because you're right, top 10 is so hard to do when you have 3 groups all vying for that position. And when you've only got 10 teams, or rather 10 games to do that, it gets really hard for individual teams.
And as well, if a team is in another group as well, I'm sure they might be the team that knocks you out, but you can't get rid of them
Mhm.
because you might not be playing that game. So
Mhm.
it's also about your own performance much more, rather than maybe looking at teams specifically here. However, we might just have our first fight coming in. It is going to be TPS hesitating around here. AOR silently, who have already lost one. Doesn't look like TPS are making a very fast push, albeit though they're going to be pushing into the building nonetheless. They're trying to pincer from 2 longer ranges here. Jiagi looking for a nade to try set off a second knock. In OR silently, they have been knocked that second time, and Usa is on her own, and it will be a good push
Jeez.
here coming through from Fairway. It will be who eliminate here. AOR silently, rough considering they just made it into this stage, not having a good game here so far.
Yeah. That is unfortunate. AOR just not feeling the fighting vibe, right? They're just not into it. They weren't ready for that to actually happen. They were already down, and Fair did a great job there because they were able to get a surround sound almost, if you will, of that little compound, of that building. And those buildings anyway are super hard to defend because they fall very open once you're getting attacked. Yes, it's close quarters, but sometimes that does not work in your favor, as we mentioned last week, right? If you have a small area, it's really easy to actually get naded, it's easy to get pushed, etc. So, tough luck there. AOR could have done a little bit more for that, but in the end of the day, it's just not going to be that which is getting there. That didn't make sense, but it's okay. We're going to go past that as we move on to Dreamers, right? Dreamers making a nice solid rotation here, very close together. It's what I like to see, Highland, as we see them move into that next zone, because the zone, for the most part, is kind of centered up.
Yeah, I mean, this zone is centered for the most part around those Gatka fields, which will provide most of these teams a decent position. There's a lot of spaces on the edge of the zone that these squads can use. You're also looking, though, as we mentioned earlier in this game, about Watertown, right? Being around that northern side. Ruins is still also available. I'm expecting a couple of teams to maybe look around that area. Teams might want to try to set themselves up for a rotation potentially there towards the northern
Mhm.
side if it does shift towards that area indeed. Around Gaku is a little bit easier to, with the chaos, you could say, get your way in if you can time it right, if you can read the lobby a little bit from the information you've gathered. Getting into ruins and around this area and into Watertown, if you're not set up and it shifts up there in the next stage, that could be a bit more complicated. So teams, if they're around the area, might already be looking to pit stop in this location.
Ooh, Shockwave making a really dangerous rotation. Did you see that? Like in between the Pachinki Hills, which normally is a big no-no because there will be teams there, but looks like they make it out alive. Fairway moving from one squad wipe onto the other, now looking at a couple of teams who have made a pit stop over in that farm area. You see QCE is trying to make a scout rotation here. She does get that information and gets away free, so nicely done from Fair. But this is going to be their base, and it's a great base, Highland. I love this compound so much. It's dynamic, it's easily defendable, it's not particularly easy to actually attack, so they've got a good little base there, and it's so open around them that they're able to get those opening knocks.
Yeah, I mean, the only real concern you have, and it also works in an advantage, is the hill. Because the hill, it's difficult for them to be able to also push down on that northern side towards you if you even do get knocked from that
Mm-hmm.
high position, where he can see maybe through those windows and get one onto you. As well, the fact that the compound is so split, it if you can push back, if you can keep your team towards a further compound later into, or a further building later into the compound, if teams are pushing it towards you, you can actually create a little bit of a distance and create that gap between each of those buildings is a blocker for those teams trying to contest you and trying to rush you. So there's lots of options, even if you do suffer a knock and even if you do have to be pushed back, it provides that second chance, which is a lot more than these other spaces have, right? Where you can see Kyle and Estes, for example, there's nowhere for them to run back to if that building gets rushed.
Yeah, 100%. It is a great compound for all the reasons we've just mentioned, and it's one of my favorites. I think it's a really good one to get to. Galatasaray, though, are not going to say yay or nay to a compound. They're preferring the open ground, which I'm kind of rather with them, right? If I have to make a choice, I'm going for open ground. They seem to be doing quite well with it so far. They're not ahead in those points by any means, but this is the part of the game where we're seeing these teams start to set up. Where do they want to be? Phantom Lex Slayers have gone for a very edge rotation. I think they've just tried to move in. They see some teams ahead of them. They're like, okay, we're going to park ourselves right here until further notice, which is fair, right? It's another solid compound on the map in general. And as long as the zone doesn't give them too far to go, they could have a good hold here.
This is the thing we're really worrying about, though, is if zone gonna shift towards maybe one side, Neptura? Because if it does, there's a lot of teams, as we were saying, on the edge of that map, right? On the edge of the zone. And in that center, as much as it's beautiful and there's a big open space, there's not that many spaces for so many teams to be colliding onto. I mean, yeah, okay, you've got the side of maybe Chinky there that you could head in towards. However,
my God.
Yeah, it's even going to shift away from there, which is a huge shift down towards Fairy Pier, and that's going to really swing a lot of these rotations for these teams. And that area, especially coming out of Pachinki and those hills, could be a real death zone for all of those squads moving in.
All right, this is where we see a lot of fights gonna start happening. Shockwave in the middle of them all. I bet you Shockwave's really annoyed that they had to move, as well as LGS, I think, were over in Fairy Pier, and they all started moving up towards the Pachinki area, and now they've all got to go back. Dreamers have the best end of the stick at the minute here. Dreamers, they were able to just go straight back to those smaller compounds where they were, and Shockwave just moving in around all these teams. There's Wildcats on their right side here. Oh, I think it's just going to be a bit of a drive-by, but yikes. I mean, that's not what you want in any team. And here, Shockwave managing to survive 3 or 4 different teams all bunching up with them. So we'll see how far they get. Looks like they're going to camp out on that other hillside. But on this side, this is where all the action is really going to start happening, Highland. You got Fairway, you've got at least 3 other teams all on this side.
In Galatasaray, and it looks like Lex also going to be completely up against each other. As Galatasaray, you can see it in the elimination feed. There is something going on there around that northern side of the zone. It seems that they've been caught on that slower rotation they were making. You also expect these teams to be making that drive-by, though, as they get further on into the zone. They don't want to stop in that open area, because you can see if you do stop, you become vulnerable, and it's exactly as what TPS take advantage of.
Jeez. Now, that is some IGLing right there. Great angle, great timing. Good stuff from TPE. As I said, this was a team to watch, and I meant it, because you see stuff like this coming in here. But here we go, Highland, another one. No time to chat. Foreign versus Flex coming up the hill here.
Yeah, and here, Foreign Esports got now the lower ground. You got to be careful. There's all those teams behind them, so there's really not that much space for Foreign to work with. And this is really where Flex can take advantage of those nades, that utility. You can see them cooking one up here, heading down into the building. They're going to look for those knocks. It's going to fall short, though, as they were checking out smoke. A few different smoke pockets here for Foreign to work with, and you can see Shockwave behind them. This is what's really complicating that position for Foreign right now, and TPS also making their way further into that zone. Flex even now in their own problems, as it's a third party of the KR Lionesses going to clean them through, and now Lionesses looking on Foreign as TPS make them exit through into that zone.
Don't they just? Great timing again, but I fear they've kind of put themselves in Flex's position that wasn't really working out for them, so we'll see how they decide to get out of that one. For now, it does look like they're just pushing forward and going through with it, so maybe they can succeed where Flex failed, but for now, Lysius from the Dreamers, a great position for them. Looks like they're doing some good work, but here we are back to the Lionesses, and it's a great little push followed up by some nades.
Yeah, it's a big, beautiful push, and it's fast as well. That's what we wanted for the Lionesses. You can see the zone coming behind them. They need to finish this one up quick. Belojka, you can see they're also pinned down by Shockwave, who all this time have been waiting on the edge of the zone. They're not in this next phase either, but they've got a lot of potential on their hands for eliminations.
They do indeed. They have lost Kawhi, which I wonder how that really went, to be honest, because I think that was just a bit of the over-enthusiastic nades, perhaps, that ended up taking out Kawhi. So we'll see how that works out for them. So they are still down to 3, but 6 eliminations. I mean, this is a completely different team than what we saw last week, Highland.
Yeah, this is them, Lionesses, trying to get those eliminations, trying to rush through. It was a big, risky push to make it through that field. They seem to have made it work, albeit they're going to lose another one as Lochka will be taken out by Langers on that other side. You could see them earlier, hovering over the location of Lionesses. Sly Machine as well. They are down here on the bottom, is meant down all the way to this coastal line. And those positions also very much taken up inside of those compounds. There's a hill perhaps these teams could play with just outside of compounds, but equally those open spaces, they do provide some safety with that hill. However, those buildings, right, they have an excellent view down onto that open space where that hill is.
Yeah, foreign. Somehow the Lionesses were able to get out of there, right? Shockwave didn't do a whole lot about them, but they are pinned down onto foreign right now, and she is going to try and make a break for it. I think she succeeded as well, so Shockwave kind of iffy on that one. They were looking to see if they had a chance, but they didn't take the chance by the horns when it came to them, so not going to be able to get any eliminations out of that little half gatekeep there, but the opportunity may still be there for some of these teams, for Shockwave as well, as they move into a very heavy area. We just saw the little drone person. Oh no, the Wildcats getting taken out, of course, by Galatasaray. I mean, if there's gonna be any team that Wildcats are fighting against, it's gonna be the #1 team, right? #1, #2, they're gonna be going at each other all the time.
Look, I mean, it was a very quick push as well from Galatasaray. This is what these teams are looking for. Barce trying to board onto TPS's compound on the edge of the zone. Keep in mind, though, it's going to shift again this zone. It might have to be a real fast one if it shifts away from them. And it will indeed. A big shift away even. 350 meters means now Barce, TPS, they both need to get out of here. And it's only 1 minute and 30 seconds. That's not a lot of time when they're here stuck in the smokes and not really wanting to find that big push immediately onto each other.
Yeah, they've really got to finish this up ASAP. Foreign does go out, but it is Barce, it is TPES. They're both going at each other, and the thing is that there's a team directly behind them who's also not in zone. So now we have 3 teams who have to make a very quick decision here, and it looks like Burf's decision might be made for her. My goodness me. Super, super low, but a nice little off angle is going to be helpful to her team as long as she can stay alive. But the thing is that Barce definitely taking over this compound from TPES as they try and take back what was theirs, but it's just not going to happen. That nade does not hit, and Zeros able to do some damage. Is that out the window as well? Cupquake going on down. Zeros doing some good work, but her teammates going down as well, but it isn't going to be enough. TPE as do go out there. 3 eliminations on the board isn't half bad. The thing is, Barce got to be real quick with their cleanup.
They've got to be real quick getting back into that zone, right? They need to get maybe 1 member revived, make it a Tajuro in. Galatasaray, they're going to clean house here. Is they're going to be checking your southern end of the zone, and it's Sly all on the floor. It's Galatasaray. They're the ones owning the building right now. They're sending the nades out, and it's payment time, and it's payment in eliminations here. It's Galatasaray find Freaks, and it will be them unfortunately eliminated. There's a return though from Dreamers. Catches Galatasaray now. Shockwave down. Lisa caught out on the return back into the zone, and it's going to be Fairway into the shed. They're going to hide. And they've got to be able to hold this position. It's just outside the zone, though. Look, it's just 13 meters. She can't stay here.
She can't, no. She cannot indeed, but maybe, there we go, the rest of her team is going to maybe find a little bit of an opening for her. Cat Veins was down as well in the other shed across the road, so not sure she's going to be able to get taken up again, so we'll see how that works for her. But Dreamers really in a position to own this circle in general, right? Look at their position in zone. It's looking really, really good. Somebody has moved in next door. That is Barce over on the cliff side, but honestly, I think they are not going to be too much of a problem considering the fight they're currently in.
Barce, they've got some space down on this bottom side of the zone. The Beagle, the hill, ever so slightly protects them. Unfortunately, they've got to be so careful from that off angle. Langers also have that sight line down on a secondary angle towards Barce. That hill doing goodness amounts of work for them. And they've got these smokes still available, but only one remaining. You can see using the Jeep just to try to peek over those smokes to see where those teams are coming in from here. In behind.
Lionesses.
Yeah.
They do go out there, but only one placement point. But it's a solid start, right? I was just thinking, it's a pretty solid start. 8 points on the board for the first game. Could be a lot worse. We saw a lot worse results for them in last week, so not too bad. But these nades, this is where nades are really going to start to be useful, right? Because there are cliffs that you cannot peek over, but those nades sure can. And as you look over... Bonfire in a rough spot, right? They have to get into zone. Their only way forward is the cliffs, but as they go down, they lose that off angle. They lose that third-party ability there, and it is going to be just all or nothing as, Celinda gets stuck on the tree as the zone comes on in. Oh my god, the panic setting in. I would be panicking.
Look, I mean, Celinda, this is why she's the pro player here. It's got to be calm under the pressure for Bonfire and Langers. They are the ones falling apart as Fairway are picking them off in that zone. It's 3 of them going to be down here, surely, and that will be Langers gone from this first game. Bonfire, they're still keeping themselves alive. That zone, though, big shift again up towards the north, leaving a lot of these players inside the buildings out of safety. Slybait need to leave, and Dreamers, they're the ones also trying to take them quite literally out of this game, and never mind out of the building. Sly equally down to 1, Dreamers 2 themselves.
Oh wow, the zone has gone over to the north side, right? And we still have 5 teams and they're all on the south side. So not only do we only have our top 5, they're all going to be fighting each other very, very soon here because no one's really in zone. Fairway Yagi, the only one for her team in. Laura is, for Bonfire, is the only one closest to the zone, but she's not even in it. So how are we going to do this? For now, it is going to be Slime Machine versus Dreamers because you've got to thin out the crowd before going forward.
And Sly, they're doing just that. They got the revive through. They've got a brilliant Molotov position. Caught out Dreamers when they were trying to make that push outside. And now even Fairway trying to punish Bonfire from the back end of this zone, trying to stop them coming up towards the north. Barce also going to jump in here, though. Zero's very ambitious to be all the way out here. She's going to slide into the zone. It's going to get caught in the zone coming past her. And now she's going to be taken out by Fairway. However, Fairway's so low as well. They should be able to at least clean this one up. It's a damaged other team, though, and Bonfire.
There we go.
There they will go second. It's Fairway clean up the chicken dinner. Neptura, it was a big game here from Fairway in this first match. They took out eliminations slowly throughout the game, and that accumulated to a big performance here in this first match.
Yeah, it absolutely did. They played that very, very well. It was very calculated from the beginning. So big kudos over to them. They were looking for a lot of points on the board coming into game number one, setting a strong foundation for the rest of the day. And I think they really have done that. Also, I want to say Bonfire. Coming in second place there, they did a really good job as well because if you notice, the two on the buggy came past and one jumped out because she was getting shot. She did not get knocked out of the vehicle. She was able to heal herself up, and then they had a 1-1 split across the side of zone. So that actually ended up working really, really well, and it got them second place. So really, really good job from Bonfire. But yeah, Fairway is going to be our winners for Erangel number one. We love to see it. And yeah, it was a really solid game from a lot of these teams.
Look, I mean, when it came to push to shove, that zone really shoved these teams into the deep end for his first game here in Epshire. It was
Mhm.
a rough
That
first
was
match for him
bad.
indeed. I mean, though, to be fair, there were a lot of quick fights with a lot of decisiveness, which I also think is something that sometimes these teams need to really push them into the pressure and push them into the situation in this first game, right? You can have this warm-up game, nervous game set. If you want to have success this match, you got to be fast, you got to be
Mhm.
decisive. And this is what Fairway were throughout every single one of their fights. And they handled, I think, that northern side given to them
Mhm.
pretty darn beautifully when it came to
Yeah.
those teams trying to push their way in as those twos and singles.
Yeah, 100%. They had a really clear path in their minds of where they wanted to go, and they did it. And when you have clarity like that, it's really a lot easier to make those pushes confidently and decisively. So, yeah, that was really very well thought out, and so in that way, well played. Um, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they can bring to the table coming in onto Miramar, because it will be a lot harder for teams to be that decisive, right? Unless you've got a team close by that you want their position or something like that, and you decide, it is going to be a lot harder. I think in some ways the zone shift actually favored Fairlight in a way that I don't think many would realize because it gave them a decision for them, right? Fairway didn't have to think about it because it was obvious the zone went to a place that was so small and only had certain specific areas that were going to be helpful that honestly the decision was made for them so that Fairlight was able to go from place to place without thinking too much about if that's the right decision, right?
Yeah, and this is also what really helped, as you say Fairway, because these teams they had to constantly make these big moves. Fairway, they were able to make those little adjustments, and that also helped them right to be able to set up quicker and better the positions to take those fights versus these other teams. And you can see also Yagi, 5 eliminations for a lot of damage done. That damage split around those eliminations for for these players on the team as well, which is what you want to see. You saw all three of those players in the end doing their part to cover that final zone and making sure that they could pick off those few players pretty efficiently and be able to finish that game up quick without any awkward contest with those
Mhm.
lower players hiding around those hills.
Indeed. Indeed. Oh, but Yagi just short of 1,000 damage. That's a shame. She'll have to wait a little longer for the bell of 1,000 damage as we look over to our player first. And Lena Six coming in here with a lot of damage for only 2 eliminations. So she's doing some work. She's really trying to do her thing. But I wonder how large her assists here are, right? Because that is a lot of damage. It's interesting that we didn't really see Sly all that much. They had a great little push over onto Dreamers, but apart from that, we didn't see too much of them.
Yeah, and I mean Fairway, they were doing their best here, along to get Slide to be doing their best to get through a little bit of eliminations, that damage. I think
Mhm.
Slide really got caught up around Dreamers, so right.
Yeah.
And I mean, the same thing happened to Barce coming into the end. There, she tried their best. She really pushed out the eliminations when it mattered versus
Mhm.
TPS. However, they got caught by that zone moving away from them. They didn't have the players to navigate it by the end, or the utility with their big extended fights they both had, which also really, of course, helped Fairway be able to gather that final win at the end of that match. And but I'll
Mhm.
say, nevertheless, do come up second position just behind Fairway Dreamers as well. They're third. The Lioness is another one, though, who were also doing pretty darn well when it came to those eliminations getting into that later part of the game here.
I'm just looking at those points and I was thinking, okay, Lionesses, because, we were talking about how, 8 points is not a bad start to the first game. And you can see it here. Lionesses and Dreamers both tied here in third and fourth position. But you go, okay, but going into the second game, look at who's directly behind them. Bonfire, Sly, and Langer's Bliss all on 7.
Mm.
So it's really still tough to call here because it's not looking like a very significant gap, right? 8 points is fine. It's getting you to the top 3, but only by a point. And really, what is that at the beginning of the day?
Yeah, we're gonna need to see a few more games for those tables and for the standings to really share a little bit of a gap between these teams, right? Because I mean,
Mhm.
even down at the bottom, a lot of these teams with 1-3 points. It's not a lot just behind the other teams at the top. So going into the next game is whether that stays consistent or whether these teams can start to get a few more points heading into Miramar here, Natura.
Absolutely. I can't wait to get into Miramar. That was a good last game. We're going to be going for a short break, though, while we get Miramar set up for you guys. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few minutes.
You've got all that mystery locked inside you.
Welcome back, everybody. Here we go. Once again, game number 2. I was about to say day number 2, but it's not. I'm getting ahead of myself just a little bit. But we are back at last. Here we go. Going into game number 2. Highland, what you feeling?
Look, I'm feeling it's going to be pretty hard. It's going to be pretty spicy with the action. I'm excited to see also what Group 3 are going to be bringing to the table here, Neptune. We just finished a wrangle. If you just missed it, Fairway coming out with a big performance. Now, I'm looking at the overall groups. Fairway were in Group A. So are they going to be staying here with Group B? Or is it Group A going to be going out in this next couple of games? So this is what we're going to have to really see here, Nebtura.
Indeed. Let's see. Ooh, Oasis is there just in the background, but I don't think the zone's going to be going there. We had a little bit of that last week, but yeah, it didn't go that way. It was going there so close until like phase 5 or something, and then went back down south. So once again, no Oasis zones for either of us, but we'll see what ends up happening here as we start to see these teams moving ahead. And let's go ahead and see. Are we going to be expecting any hot drops right now? I don't think so, right? I sure hope not. You know, last week we had that same hot drop in San Martin. It does look like we might have slightly a little bit of that, but I sure hope not.
Indeed, as we're checking down here onto the playing path, it is fairly decent, as you said. Expecting these teams, from what we've seen so far, to kind of congregate around the Los Leones. Chumacera should get a few of these teams. Also, though, around this more northern area, right? Picado Hill, we've seen a lot of contention around that San Martin area, just outside the compounds as well, around it. This has really been where these teams have been wanting to go. Instead, it's going to be somewhat different this time around. The zone has chosen to be unkind tonight here in Ebshire in the way it's gone all the way down to that eastern end.
Oh, yeah, that's rough, right? I mean, you know it's a rough zone when we even have those islands, which could be really cool. It's a very rare zone, but it's one that's less rare than the Oasis area. So it would be cool to see that, but I don't think the girls want anything to do with that. They're just like, no, no, thank you. We are good. And I think it's probably not going to go in that direction. Shockwave, not happy potentially with this this zone coming in here, but it looks like they could have, if they start early enough, a fairly easy northern rotation in. I am noticing though, Highland, the Wildcats, pretty big split coming in there, 3-1.
Yeah, so these Wildcats, they've got a bit of a split coming in here when it comes to their current location, hoping that it shouldn't be too detrimental for them. I mean, it's also going to be interesting how they gather information from this split as well. With so many of these teams expected, yes, to stay around where they're staying in the first phase. However, as we get to the end of stage 1, you can see a lot of these teams, especially Fatum is a great example here, where they're going to be further out, right? So they're going to want to make that earlier rotation, maybe coming into phase 2, and set themselves up for a good position, especially considering that phase 1 here already, a lot of that area is going towards the ocean, that island off of mainland Miramar. You've also got towards the northern side, those big open flat areas. So we are going to have a little bit of its zone already out of play, which will end up overall congregating these players closer together, right, towards that more western end of the zone.
Indeed. La Bandita is going to be a really pivotal spot, I think, right? It's right on the edge of that zone, slightly inside it. And if Bonfire can keep control of it, I think they could have a real chance at getting a few players coming through on those rotations because of all the open area around them. So definitely going to be something to look out for is Bonfire in this match, provided they stay where they are. If they go on and move out, you know, who knows what will happen. But I think it could be a really good spot for a team to actually decide in the next couple of stages they want to start gatekeeping.
Yeah, and this is especially right where you're looking towards those areas coming in towards the flanks. So the southern flank is a really interesting one around Impala, right? How our team's going to maybe come out of Los Leones, this big city, and try to get into the zone, and perhaps a safer way than going directly through that central western belt of Miramar, where it is quite hilly. It's going to be difficult terrain. You could get caught by a team potentially, so then you're not able to really move out of the way fast enough with those vehicles or whatnot with that difficult terrain indeed, as we've mentioned. So you're looking also not only Impala as an option there for these teams, but also the northern side, right? There's a lot of squads, as we mentioned, around Los Leones, around, Picado as well. So you're then looking at those more big hills, right? So it's not the roads, maybe like you've got in the south, but you do have more information there. You've got more high ground that you can utilize, and you've got a wave that comes down into those hills later on, which will allow you a bit more advantage when you're looking at those teams below you who maybe don't have a compound, who you can then pick off with those longer range shots from above.
I'm surprised by how many teams actually have players that are a little bit damaged in some way, right? We haven't seen anybody actually go head to head yet, but it does look like there's some teams. I don't know what is even happening because the zone isn't really coming in either, Highlands. So I think somebody's bumping into trees or something. But yeah, it is interesting to see how many teams actually have a little red bar on their name. We do see God of Anarchy making an early rotation, and I mean early, right? We were only 3-4 minutes into the game rather, and we are starting to see teams make some major rotations into the zone, which is what you want to see, right? You want to see them going ahead of the game a little bit. You don't want to be left behind when it comes to these really massive circles. As okay, Hilad thought she could take on a motorbike with a monster truck. She does in the end, but not quite as smoothly as she might have hoped there. That's all right. But yeah, a lot of teams making that northern rotation. You see over through the crater area. Could pose a problem for Shockwave all the way over in Chumi. Could see some clashes start to happen with them. But we'll see how that goes. For now, the Lioness is going to be moving on south, and that could give an opening to Shockwave.
Yeah, indeed. This is where we're looking at these openings starting to come up. And especially, you can see maybe with Tia Bonka, right, KLI and SEs, they've got these options as well to move around, whether it be the north or that southern exit as well. So they can choose a little bit based on what the way this zone is heading up. It's going to be fairly decent towards them, towards that south side, right? It's just whether they want to moving potentially to those teams around them and look for a bit of a skirmish show later on. And Galatasaray as well is going to be making their way in along, I believe, what should be his more northern side, if I'm correct, with Galatasaray. And we're going to be heading down into that zone. A lot of these teams will be heading downwards from what we saw in the initial drops, more so than coming through Los Leones. So it will be more crowded towards these more northern parts of the zone, where it is going to be those big open hills, that big high ground in play. So it will be curious, or be a little bit curious for me, perhaps, at least, and I'm sure here, for these teams and how they navigate that big open high ground of the zone that is given to them, especially considering that they have to then really move downwards as well. You can't move towards that more right side, towards further east, because there is that big open expanse just before the big wall at the border of the map.
Yeah, I mean, automatically it creates a bit of a funnel, right? When you
Yeah.
have areas that teams don't want to go into, then they all have to pile into a much smaller area. So, yeah, you're right. It's going to be very interesting to see how they navigate that. I would have thought there's going to be a few teams who just go ahead and brave it because a big spread on an outside, an outer area, is going to be easier than to be funneled in with the rest of the teams. I think to navigate an open space, you really have to move all four. I think it depends. I think probably all together, right? Because you don't really want to go one by one because that gives that team that might be spraying down on you too much leverage on one solo player, right? They can pinpoint that player easily. If you all move sort of as a group, then they can't pinpoint a single vehicle as easily as individuals, and I think that could be where your strength lies. So you're gonna have to be wary of those sorts of things and try and figure out what is gonna be best in this instance. For now, though, yeah, you're right. There's actually, wait, hang on a second. That whole northern side is open. That's a lot of high ground. Like, I know it's open, but at the same time, it's a lot of high ground that's not being utilized.
Yeah, and I think teams will eventually move towards that location. I mean, you've also got a few concerns on the outskirts of that map, right? Flex and TPS, they're the biggest problems when coming into this zone for those squads, right? Because they are just passing by the center of Miramar right now. They've got a lot to go. I suspect they'll also be avoiding that northern area as well. So they'll maybe more have a direct route directly into the western end of the zone. So you're contesting again about more of those hilly, more awkward to navigate terrain. So it will be interesting, as you say, where these teams do choose to end up going around that northern end. Maybe, though, for these teams, they do want to look towards the cliffs in those more hilly, awkward terrains, but in the sense that you can hide around those areas. And also, it's actually much more centralized, oddly enough, that cliff area on Miramar heading in towards the ocean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would really expect a team like Galatasaray to take control of this area, right? You really want to see them. I think they're over in that northern area anyway. And you know, if they see that there's a space open that could really do some good work for them, you want to see them make an immediate rotation. Langer's Bliss as well. Anybody who's in that vicinity, you really want to see them take that initiative, because it's going to be initiative in this zone in particular that is going to get you the win. We saw it the same way with Fairlight in game number 1, right? That was a really difficult zone and a really hard shift, but they were really decisive about where they wanted to go. They had the plan in their head and they went with it, and it won them the game. So I think in this kind of zone, you're going to see a similar thing. The team that does that is going to succeed here. So who that is going to be, we have yet to find out.
Yeah, and I like also here from Fairway. So we're looking at Fairway down in this southern area. They're going to utilize those ridges just towards the sea cliffs themselves. I'm also looking at those teams playing further back, right? I mean, it is also only stage 2. As much as we're saying these teams wanting to move forward, wanting to have a good position in the zone, there are those teams, right, just holding back for now, trying to stay on the edge of the zone, knowing that it's only stage 2, and they've still got a good location on the outskirts of that play area, right? So they don't have to make too hasty of a move into those awkward terrains into the center of zone. They can just avoid it for now until the zone, of course, does end up heating up towards stage 4 and 5. That's when those teams might find the backfire of that strategy, where they maybe don't have that information, however, of where those squads who did make that earlier rotation are actually going to be inside of that zone.
Oh, Sly with their classic Impala mountain area position there. You see them all just hiked up there, up onto those cliff sides. That's where they're going to be for the next few minutes. The phase so far is actually supporting that move, and that's where they're going to be sitting. Galatasaray as well over here. Some really nice high ground they've got over a large area, actually. That's the benefit to having that high ground in this part of the map, is just how open everything else is. So we'll see now. It all comes down to where that new zone is going to be popping up. We have 40 seconds until the zone does end up does end up showing us where it's next going to go, where that stage 3 is going to be, because that highland is going to be the indicator of how this game is going to go and which teams are going to do well.
And this is where we're really looking for these next 20 seconds, right? I mean, even there's these beautiful little locations, these pockets where you can see Dreamers are. They've got these buildings towards them. It's much more open around either end of these buildings. Expect maybe Dreamers, if this zone will stay around with them, to stay here with that ability, of course, for the vehicles to move out of the area pretty quickly. No one would look to contest them.
Mm.
Looking, yes, around that area as it moves towards that northern side, though, is that zone is going to be up towards even Al Azhar. You could see
Yeah.
actually some early rotations here for teams moving into the city. It
Yeah.
does backfire, however, being only stage 3, if that zone moves again away from the city, is very much on the edge. So it's a lot of comfort, but you're paying off with the roll of the dice really here, Neptura, on whether that
Yeah.
zone stays in that location.
I think it's too risky to actually move fully into the city there. It's too much because the zone is like a 1 in 10 chance of it actually going that way. That nade though is huge coming over the top of that road, and they are going to move out of the way there, so it is going to be fair weight trying to move in, do some damage, try and get that position because it's a darn good one, but I think they've decided it's not really worth it and they're going to go find another hill.
Yeah, I mean, fairway, they don't want to get caught here on the edge of his zone. We know how disastrous it can be also if you have to use a lot of utility early on to be able to get across those hills, right? I mean, the terrain really is going to require a lot more of that utility, especially the smokes, those nades, getting around those big hills, as we said, around the northern side. A lot of outlook for these teams who are on that northern hill itself to look down on those teams, to be able to punish them, to be able to stall them. And that's especially what's going to drain a lot of the utility of those squads who are later to that party. And eventually will end up causing some suffrage on their ability to be able to have a strong position, especially, of course, if they have to then move into another direction, which is also open later on in the game. So if these teams are late on a rotation, it could actually cost them a lot of utility, which will affect them, as we say, towards that end game point.
The Wildcats having a really good spot actually over onto that side. It could go quite well for them if the zone continues to favor them. Barce trying to do a little bit here, and this is where the zone gets really tricky. Just because you look how open it all is, right? It's even these high grounds have so many open angles behind them that they can get taken out from. So these teams have really got to be on the quick swivel, coming through here. As Hate Me in that kill feed does take out somebody over with Lex, I think that was. Barca and LGS going at it as well. So there's a lot of fighting going on. I think it's just because these angles are so open.
And you know what I'm not surprised of, though, is that while we're still got 16 teams, and like, hey, yeah, Langos are going to lose one here. We might start to see a few more drop as Lioness is find another one onto Flex. However, there's a lot of pockets right around this open space. There's a lot of little nooks and crannies these teams can hide around in. You find those one knocks, but nothing really ever comes to fruition in terms of an elimination, Neptura, because teams, they don't want to head too much into the fight. They don't want to rush down in an open area where they could get caught out by, of course, teams, maybe players hiding out in another little area, little pocket ahead of that location to the team they're trying to flush. So all in all, you're going to see a little bit of passiveness coming through from these squads. Coming into at least stage 4, though, now where we're going to see those teams maybe look for those fights, maybe look for these eliminations. See teams now finally starting to drop, and especially in stage 5, that's where we're going to really see a lot of these players come out quite quickly.
Well, it's just insane, Harlan, because we're at stage 5 already, or stage 4 in a bit, and we still have 15 teams alive. I mean, that might quickly be remedied here as God of Anarchy and Barce go head-to-head, but out in that zone, which is really starting to tick forward now. Carly from Galatasaray going down as well. So a lot is happening, and the zone has insisted it's going to the only empty space in the zone. Teams, for some reason, really don't want to be in this part of the zone, and so the game's just kind of gone, hey, you know what? You're going there, and we're not going to give you any sort of break whatsoever. So now all these teams look at it. I mean, it's the South, it's the West, and the East all coming together here. So we're in for a treat.
And you've got that only few buildings inside a very big dip there, just outside of that hill. Those teams may look for it. Unfortunately, Langus Bliss, they will not be able to find anything here. 15th position there for them. TPS also on the outskirts, trying to make it up towards those big hills around that only compound remaining in towards the center of the zone. you are looking at those squads, ideally looking for those locations, they are equally very open, right? So as you said, those teams coming in from behind, those big northern squads, that's where the danger really comes in from, even if you're the first towards that big, lovely space inside the
Mhm.
zone.
I mean, I think there's going to be a whole lot of contesting this area, to be honest. It's a rubbish building. It really is. But you know what? When you have a zone like this, it's the only one you got. TPES going to take out one of the foreign girls here in a different compound that's not quite in zone. But this fight is necessary nonetheless because you've got so many teams coming in here. You've got to stake your claim. You've got to have something to defend. So we'll see how that goes for them. But that gas station down at the bottom of the hill is just going to be such a mess. It's going to be so full of boxes by the end of this. So we'll see how that ends up shaping up as Sly start to make their move. And again, you know, we haven't seen much of Sly so far, and they're finally up on screen. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, I mean, Sly here, they are really stuck in this location. They can't go anywhere. At least they're inside of the zone. So for Sly, I think really you've got yourself in a horrible position. Try to survive out the utility. It's harder said than done. You can't go anywhere else, though, right? I mean, you're looking at the Lionesses. The moment they step outside, the Lionesses are on one side, the other squad's coming in from the south, from the other end of the zone. Sly really are in a pickle right now. Lionesses are going to be 2-2. Flex going to fall out, of course, first, but that zone headed to the other end of the hillside. You can see on that top right of your screen, Lionesses have a big road here to cross, even once they finish through Sly, who are still holding on.
Aren't they just? And Sly with a really nice little split coming through here. Oh, and she didn't see her! Can Lex do something? Yes, she can, but immediately gets taken out. But this is the end of Sly. This is the opening. Fate and Lex needed in their lives, but it is just down to a 1v1. It's Lunasix versus Darcy.
Yeah, they're going to look for the eliminations here. They're going to grab up 2 immediately. Darcy maybe even looks for the revive here. You realistically need these 2 players, and so Sly will do the same if they want to get across that road and further into the zone. Keep in mind, still 10 teams here. The new Six gonna go for the molly, try to flush out the back end of that building on the supermarket, but Lex, they're looking to shop for another elimination here. Stepping back outside, and nade inside won't catch Lex for now. A second one dodges out of it once more. Darcy doing her best to survive, but it won't be long enough. They find her, and now down to only XSQ, who, yes, won't be able to do much around at both ends of Sly. Sly, well played to them, though. They will keep 2 players alive. It's just, can they survive to get into that zone now?
Yeah. No, that's going to be such a tough thing, right? Lex did a great job. You know, they tried to split it up, tried to split up the last duo as well. Lisa is going to go... Oh, I thought she was going to go down there. She should have gone down to that zone, but looks okay. Razdva at the other end, though, is not going to have that same fate. Lisa does go down. Oh, but it's 2 Shockwave. Now, this is the kind of game Shockwave we're looking for, right? 3 eliminations on the board so far. Our Erangel team, our Erangel winners, did go out there with only 2 eliminations, so plenty of room now for these teams to catch up with their 24 points. So we'll see how they go from now. Wildcats get taken out, but at least it's to the play zone, so no extra points going their way. And now the Lionesses have a great little spot. Look at them on that south side. I don't know how they can move up from here, but at least they've got a split along one side of the zone.
Yeah, so Lionesses, they have been able to get across this road. They also have not too many of these players around them. Bonfire, they're also busy right now with Galatasaray. So Lionesses, a slight entrance into the zone, an opportunity here for them while Galatasaray are keeping Bonfire busy. And Lioness is looking to capitalize this. 2 already down for Bonfire. You can see now Catbanes and co joining in on that northern side. It's really going to pincer them. Even Barce pinchering a little bit of a spray down onto Galatasaray. Will find one as Toffee will be finished up here by Phaser. So Barce going to steal one, up to 9 eliminations for them here.
Really good stuff from Barze. Oh, and Bonfire getting taken out with a really nice nade from Catveins there. Tell you what, Barze have been doing a really good job. They did a really good job in the game number 1 in Erangel, and they're following it up with a banger game here again. 9 eliminations on the board so far, and there's still 6 teams out there, right? As TPS does get taken out there, Logica gonna be doing that work for her team. 7 eliminations now for the Lionesses, and for TPS, not a bad start either. 7 points to back up what they did in Erangel.
And 3 full squads still in this game. Shockwave are also here. They're trying to battle down on that more south side. We'll have to see how that fares up for them. As Galatasaray, they're trying to find here players there. As Shockwave falling to the Lionesses. Barca even joining on the other wrong end of that elimination feed. Galatasaray going to chuck a nade in for good measure. They will lose their life though, and not going against them. But the damage has been done. And how will now Lionesses look to steal this game away with Barca punished to a single player? Really, they shouldn't have a right to win this one. Galatasaray also going to fight versus the Lionesses for that chicken dinner. As Galatasaray not in the zone yet, though, Neptune, they need to get further in.
They do indeed. Galatasaray, a rare top 3 with no eliminations on the board so far. But maybe they don't have to get a thing, right? You're looking at the Lionesses and Barca just going head-to-head over here. And Galatasaray just in the corner, not doing a whole lot at all, except just staying quiet and staying alive. And honestly, that's all they need to do.
That's what they need to do, especially when these placement points right with no eliminations. Those placement points matter. And they really do matter for what you can grab. Logical and Hate Me, speaking of grabbing, they're going to grab all of those eliminations from Barca. But unfortunately, Barca returns both eliminations, keeps the solo in. And Lionesses decimated maybe their chances here with that push. And Allow stepping in, finds 1. Can they find 2? Yes, they do. And
wow.
Lionesses very much out of this one. And Galatasaray surely going to steal the win away. A bold push by Lionesses, but Barca taking up second position, punished it well, and Galatasaray going to steal away this first position. The zone is on the edge, Athena. It's whether those nades land true, and they don't just yet. That one looks good as well, but it's also going to miss. They'll grab at least another elimination. It's Barca up to 13. This is the last nade, though, Neptura. It has to land.
Hit. No,
and
it doesn't.
But it grabbed another one. And now it's only the vehicle. It's only one more, and they look, of course, for the revive. There's no utility. There's no need to punish this revive. And Athena needs to step out to be able to finish off Galatasaray here.
Surely she's going to go to the right-hand side, right? Up over that ridge? Come on now. Don't let them revive. Athena, don't.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
Come on.
And this might be it. This is now to push a secondary chance for Galatasaray in this game with the zone moving in. That zone's going to cut off her escape into the zone, and the zone's going to do the work. Barca excellently flushed by Galatasaray at the end, Neptura. And Barca just couldn't, they didn't have the confidence perhaps there to finish off the last player.
I'm sighing. That was a intentional sigh because Athena, really, girly, come on now. Come on now. I mean, Galatasaray win fair and square, but this is my face. Athena, girl, what are you doing? You should... you had it in the bag, but it's fine. It's whatever. They had a second place with a lot of eliminations as well, right? I think it was 13 in the end. So, they're not hurting necessarily, but man, come on now.
Yeah, I mean, look, they ran out of utility. You can tell if she had one more nade, she would have totally gone for that push, right? No questions asked. But maybe in the heat of the moment, she felt a little bit nervous also stepping out into the open. Yeah. She feared she might get knocked. At the end of the day, though, right, Neptura, she loses her life anyways to Galatasaray. So that elimination point, nevertheless, goes to Galatasaray. And with that win, so you might as well try something for the win and see if you can at least get that return in that final knock. Nevertheless, it is, as we say, Galatasaray, with that 10 placement points, very much needed with those lower eliminations for them. Only those last three at
Yeah.
the end from the Tour de Lionesses and that Barca member.
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's probably the lowest elimination count with a win that I've seen from Galatasaray ever. 3 eliminations is kind of insane for a team like this, but it was so fair because they saw the opportunity that they didn't have to fight for that win necessarily, right? They fought for that third place and then they could just step back and let those two teams just go head to head, do their thing and just clean up afterwards. And that's where you see a team where they're professional, where they're world class, right? Because they see that opportunity to just not fight and still win. And so they did a really good job with that. GG's. All those teams did a really good job. It was such a tough zone. Honestly, one of the tougher zones I've seen in a long time, just because that road to Azahar is so difficult with those steep inclines like that. And so for any of those teams to be able to actually move up from that road on to a top three is really, really good. You do see Barce Athena coming in here with 6 eliminations, and ding, 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 our first bell of week 2, Highland. 1,413 damage.
Look, it was a lot of damage coming through from Athena towards the end of that match. 6 eliminations, of course, for her. She really was a rock for her squad, right? She was
Hmm.
able to get those two onto the Lionesses. Also, those extra elimination point from Galatasaray. It's almost a shame she didn't close out. It could have been a really performance of the tournament. Nevertheless, it is a big performance for her. She's going to be top of the player focus, and Barce Zero's going to be joining her there with also 900 damage herself. Very
Hmm.
much controlling the lobby here when it comes to the amount of
Yeah.
damage they seem to have been doing. 2K, it can be as much as an entire team does in one game.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, that's an insane stat coming in from them. And I love to see it, especially considering their performance from game number 1, right? Because they were consistently pretty good. They had a pretty high number of points coming into game number 2. And so they've doubled that now with 19 points. I mean, that's a really high score for a second place team.
Yeah, this is really big indeed for them. And as well as Galatasaray, getting those big placement points was crucial, considering that they had no elimination points right until the very end there. The Lionesses as well, they also
Mhm.
got 13 elims. They're also going to be at 18 points. So it's both of these squads right above the winner of that match by how many eliminations they were able to grab. Shockwave as well, alongside TPS and the Wildcats. Grabbing
Mhm.
those eliminations and those placement points, they were the ones that fell out just before Galatasaray, where it was at 4th and 5th and 6th position.
Yeah. What's so funny to me is Galatasaray are third, and they won the whole thing, but they're third in terms of those
Yeah,
points, which is really funny to see, especially it being Galatasaray, right? When they win by 20 odd points, and it just didn't happen. But they got the win, and that's really all that matters, especially early on, right? Now they can build that momentum off of a win, which is so much better than off of an 8th place. So, looking very good for Galatasaray, looking very good for the Lionesses. I mean, we talked about Barce having really good consistency over the first 2 games of the evening. But I think the Lionesses even more so because they had a lot of points in that first game. They went out with, I think, 8 points. And yeah, now they get a whole other 18, which pushes them up into third place ahead of Galatasaray and right even actually with Fairway, who won the last game.
Yeah, and I mean Fairway as well, who are up there with those elimination points in the first one. They had a slightly poorer performance here, struggling in the second
Hmm.
one to really come up from that south to the northern shifts that the zone was giving them. It does even up that leaderboard a lot, as you say. That middle portion, especially, really not that much in it. Fifth to 13th position here, only 4 points between all of those teams Neptune are going to Sandhawk, which
Hmm.
really will be, I think, a separator here at the midway point of the day, knowing how chaotic that map can really be already.
100%. And when you think about all of these teams that are all so close, are all going into Sandhawk, right? It's not the split teams that we saw in week one. You know, it's not different groups coming in. It's the exact same teams that are all super close to each other. And it's all going to be on Sandhawk. And that's just so exciting. I want to get started already. Flex and Foreign and God of Anarchy, all those three teams, I'm really looking to them for this Sandhawk because they've only got 1 or 2 points coming in here. They need some points before we get into the second half of the night.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we are gonna. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah. I mean, I was gonna say it's gonna be an epic one here, Neptune. We're gonna head for a break real quick while we get ready for that jungle action where we'll see you on a plane path jumping into the jungle itself. See you there.
I'll be there when the lights don't shine. I'll be there in the sleepless nights. I'll be there, make you feel alright. I'll be there, I'll be there. I'll be there when the lights don't shine. I'll be there in the sleepless nights. I'll be there, make you feel alright. I'll be there, I'll be there.
Alrighty, gang, we are in for quite the game, I think. We had a little look at those standings before the break, Highland. They're really, really close. There's most of the teams are still on a tie coming into game number 3. Getting into the final, not the final, the middle game of the evening, right? We're getting into the second half of the night. We're getting into Sandhawk, and we're getting in with a lot of teams that are very close to each other.
Look, I mean, we're coming to the most chaotic map of the night. We've got 4 points again between 5th and 13th position here, Neptura. So it's going to be an absolute mad fest when it comes to who's going to change up these leaderboards around that middle portion of the leaderboard, and especially also looking at the top of that leaderboard as well. Yes, there's a bit more of a gap around these teams. However, Fairway gave up their first position to here Barcy, I believe it was, after that second match with their huge Barcy performance on Miramar. So to see if that consistency, which we've been kind of honing in on for this second stage here, Neptura, if that will stay true with these top teams, if they can extend that lead further here on such a chaotic map, as we say.
Yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. I doubt we're going to see any hot drops, right? Nobody's going to be crazy enough to go, hey, we're tied, let's go hot drop them. No, nothing's like that is going to happen. You might see some teams a little bit closer to each other, but of course, it's a smaller map. You're going to see that anyway without any intention behind it. Lots of teams moving over to that northeastern side, though, so that is going to be an interesting one to watch as we do look at the zone coming up in just a second here. Carolines is having a 2-2 split over in that island area, so that could be a potential worry for them. You know, you do see TPES not in Hatin, right? They're not far enough away to not be a threat to the Lionesses at this point in time, but we'll have to see how that goes for them. If they end up going over towards that area anyway, the Lionesses should be good.
Yeah, so Flex TPS, they suffered from staying too late on the outskirts of the map in the last map on Miramar. This time, it's much more comfortable for them. We shouldn't see this be an issue for these squads. You're much more looking at how these teams are just going to look to position the early game, especially maybe around Paradise Resort is one of these locations, right, which aren't taken up. You can maybe see the Wildcats or Sly move down there. Of course, Sly and Dreamers currently sat in another skirmish between each other, this time on that northeastern side of Sandhawk. They're also going to be able to find one, Shockwave find one off Fairway, should we say, on their own skirmish here. So Fairway not off also to the greatest beginnings here. Is that a first knock?
We have indeed, but it's not been flushed out yet, so there still is a chance for them to go back up to a full squad. But with that bar, it's looking a little rough, and we are over in Camp Charlie here. And it is up against Shockwave. These are seasoned players. These guys know what they're doing. So we will see. They are back up as a full squad, though. They were able to get that knock revived. Oh, but don't go out there. No, sirree. Don't want to do that, as Amelia's nade does not hit its target.
Yeah, so Amelia only one nade here remaining. I assume that probably Amelia doesn't use this so far. Want to have more some clarification of where the players currently are positioned. That nade also gave away a little bit of a position of where Amelia was. So as you can see, Anuki, they were kind of hovering that nade, looking to decide if they would throw that over towards where Amelia is standing. Lisa, though, with his hesitation, has actually moved behind Fairway, you can see. So there's this flank going on right now, which I'll be curious to see how this affects Fairway. If Lisa can get another knock, maybe then Shockwave look for the push onto them.
I would agree with that, to be honest, but Lisa has to be so careful not to be seen, right? Because her position is way too important for her to be careless with this. So you are seeing that information. That's probably why the rest of Shockwave isn't really doing anything right now. They can't lose out a player while Lisa's still trying to get in position, and that's an excellent position to have. Oh my goodness me. So the minute that she gets that opening, she is going to be taking it. And then, yeah, I think you're right. Shockwave will be going in for that push. Lisa will probably stay up on top and the rest will push forward. So we'll see how that goes for them. But Slime Machine, Gristo goes out early. Our first blood taken out by Lex over here. Now, Lex, a team that have been doing really well, but struggling in those final few phases, so something they really want to work on in Sandhawk. This is the game for them. They want to get those points early and on the board, so we'll see how they do.
Yeah, I mean, Lex was one of these players, especially in day 2, right, of stage 1. They really got a lot of those points around that second day for themselves, and you see them starting to get a bit of a warming towards the lobby and how it's playing out. Unfortunately, though, you can see just one of them getting caught by that big flank from Sly. Very wide angles here from Sly, where they position themselves. Shockwave goes, we swing back towards them, catch at one of their weight, and now be a second player now knocked. It seems that Lisa might not have found that knock initially, but it's instead Shockwave catching out one too far a push from Fairway's position themselves. Lisa stepping down as Caramelia. Really important they don't fall down here. The back line there, Shockwave is also making that revive. So Lisa, good decision there to come back into the compound and support here Caramelia from the push.
Yes, indeed. It does look like that Fair is just down to 2 and make that 1. No, that's Lex. Lex with a nade coming in here. Does get taken out, so it is a 1v something at the moment in time. Darcy on the final frontier here for this side.
And Dreamers, they're sensing out of position. They will find Darcy there. That will be the next one to fall. And it was only, of course, SQ. Really available here for Lex. Assume that they will move away from the location. Keep himself if they can as that solo. Unfortunately, you can see their position is so centralized in this compound. They've got the ability, they've got explosiveness, but they go out. I thought maybe with that shotgun they could be able to find something, but nevertheless, Shockwave, they'll also clean up here Fairway, and it's both fronts, these teams falling apart.
Yeah, unfortunate. I think with Shockwave, it was inevitable a little bit because they had that really well engineered here. For Lex, it is unfortunate. They're still in it, though. They're not gone out yet for Fairway. But we'll see how TPES... The KR Lioness is not having a good game here. They're just down to 1 at this point in time. And after the really good few games, they could have really used a good Sandhawk as well to really get them flying up that leaderboard. But it's weird, right? They've gone over to where TPES were, and I don't know if they just got caught out, but surely that's an overconfidence on their part.
Yeah, I mean, right, it definitely looks like they were moving as a group. They were very close to that ocean. They want to avoid with that hill, with that ridge, avoid the sight lines of those teams in that area. Unfortunately, that was leaving them very vulnerable. And yeah, TPS just around that area, maybe, of course, not respecting a team could be around that area is weird in a way for TPS to be in that specific location. They're usually a little bit more towards the compound, towards the bridge from that northwest island. So really just Lioness is getting caught out by a change in the way that TPS played and unfortunately caught off guard and out of this game.
Well, at least they had those first 2 games to carry them through, right? They're allowed 1 bad game if they had such a good couple to start out with, so not too bad there, but I'm not sure I like this very much. Lena 6 for Slime Machine here, just out in the blue, 900 meters to go, and we all know that in Sandhawk, the zone starts doing damage a lot quicker, right? So she's trying to move up behind Dreamers, but the rest of her team aren't really near her position, so she's kind of on her own, just keeping tabs on this team, but I don't think their priority should be there.
Yeah, I mean, Lenuzix here, they're trying to find something. They will actually find one of Dreamers. I'm not sure how worth that might have been, but can I get it, though? This is very bold from Slime Machine being so far into the blue right now. Dreamers were probably on their way further into that zone. Now they're going to stop, though, Dreamers, in this location, which is, I think, the worst position for Slime Machine, right? They need to get across this road, and they've now gathered attention of the rest of them. I'm curious if those other members of Sliver are going to be looking for that cutoff. You saw him off to the side, so maybe they're trying to deliberately stop Dreamers there to try and make a flank happen. Foreign as well, gonna lose one as Barsate finds a nade, and AR silently even gonna be joining in on this one here, directly on Painan.
Huge third-party opportunities here. Oh, as the nades and everything just take them on out there. So Foreign just down to that solo, and she's going to make a run for it. I don't blame her. She has so much more to live for in this Sandhawk game, but she cannot. She does not get away in time. AOR coming in with those 2 eliminations. Nicely done. That's going to be Foreign out for this game. Unfortunately, Highland, Foreign was one of those teams that really needed points in this Sandhawk.
Yeah, so unfortunately, Foreign losing out there early, just getting caught from the long range as well as Barca. You saw it in the elimination feed. Sly, they couldn't quite track Dreamers. You see Dreamers did get away. Sly still think there's someone there. Unfortunately, Dreamers have already escaped their line of sight, so it was a nice try. I saw what they were trying to do by slowing Dreamers down to see if they could finish off the final 2 members as well, but at least reduce them down to a duo. So Dreamers much more tame now in this game. They won't have those 3 players to really utilize for fights.
Langer's Bliss look like they're in a pretty good spot. We haven't seen the zone pop up just yet for us, but it's a solid spot. It's inside zone. It's a high ground position as well. So I like it so far. You do see AOR on the north of Painan there, looking over at Barce, who are trying to come down. But Galatasaray up in the corner, just lurking up there. They'll have moved up over Boot Camp Hill. That's where they are now. No eliminations so far. Oh, no, sorry. 1 elimination so far. So they're already got a few points on the board there. But 14 teams still alive, right? It is going to be an interesting one to see who goes out next. We got a few solos looking at us right now. Dreamers as well. You see here as Slime Machine just start to move into zone themselves. This is a team that's really outside of zone. They are down to 3, but really, really low just because of Slime Machine actually waiting for them out there.
Yeah, so the tracking didn't come to so much success, right? They didn't have also a lot of healing from the way they were playing so slow. They weren't looting up, so this is the downside, right? Where you don't get eliminations, you lose a player. Even here, now coming into the zone, you don't have any information being so far out. We said Sly was going to be one of these problem teams being far away from the zone earlier in this game as well. Now that zone is centralized more towards that southwestern area. Ruins, Painan, really these core locations. I like both some moves further up north, right? Galatasaray using an L compound just between the 3 islands. Really going to be such a powerful position for them to hold on to, and especially to navigate if it does have a really hard shift potentially still towards the mainland or that northwestern island still. Keep in mind the space for that hard shift to happen.
Yeah, indeed. Shockwave as well, looking quite strong here as they get Reds back up. It is very open there, but it's a good, solid position, I think. Selena Six trying to move in as well. We move off of that just as she moves in between 2 different teams there, and she will get taken out. Yeah, I think that was fairly... fairly in obvious, to be honest. Going in between 2 teams like that, not gonna work. And there's a third one moving in, LGS moving in behind that hill. Oh, things have just gotten very, very busy between these 3 teams.
Yeah, it's the Langers really scouting. You can see them driving around the area right now, but trying to look at a position for themselves. They will opt to go as at that 2-2 together. They're going to head around towards the back end of that zone for a bigger flank onto a Shockwave. Flex also going to jump onto this roof. You can see they're trying to chase these points, see if they can find an angle. The Shockwave, they're already the ones falling down. The smoke, the spray won't be successful, and Shockwave, nevertheless, they're still falling to here. Langer's Bliss down to that 1 player. That nade will find that next knock. You can see it through Flex's scope. In for Langers, it just really capitalized here on that higher ground. Shockwave really weren't defending that edge of zone good enough.
No. No, not at all. And that was a really quick, really decisive push coming in from LGS there. Langer's doing a great, great job. No, really, really good stuff on their part. And again, that's what we're talking about, right? I think that's kind of gonna be the theme of tonight is decisive. Decisive play
Yeah.
won game number one. There was a lot of decisive gameplay coming in game number two. There had to be with that zone. And now we see it with Langers as well. Very quick, very decisive. They went, we're going for it, and they did. And they got that squad wipe, almost that squad wipe, actually. They're down to, was shocking, down to a solo. So Langer's got 4 eliminations so far. They're looking pretty good as a full squad in zone as well. So decisions get you somewhere.
Yeah, and these fast, accurate decisions get you somewhere. I mean, we've seen
Mm-hmm.
fast, poor decisions sometimes by these teams, right? Where they go into a position too hastily, they
Yeah.
get immediately knocked out. I think Sly was a great position or example of that, should I say, where they put all their eggs into that one basket of Dreamers,
Yeah.
and then they made a very fast decision. Didn't have a lot of information behind it, and then it lost a lot of players, right? And even the zone
Yeah.
moving away from them. So it's all about understanding the pacing, right, of this game, because we see decisiveness here. It's because the zone's being decisive. It's moving down even more towards
Yeah.
another open area here. Ruins is still going to be within this zone, and both you're looking at maybe TPS and these other squads around the north side really contesting that awkward terrain coming in towards
Yeah.
the Ruins compound.
100%. I mean, it's going to be really rough for teams that still have to come over the hill, over the river, right? I mean, you see the Wildcats now, they're down to just 2. That's how tough it really is. Galatasaray looking at that area as well. Bonfire going out with only 1 elimination. I think if you're going to be a solo over there, Catveins is a solo over on the wrong side of the river. Her best bet right now is to just go really late. You've got to wait for God of Anarchy to actually move in. Otherwise, she's not going to make it. And I think a lot of teams are going to have to wait and just play the late game, play that late rotation, because that's the best chance of survival in this zone.
Yeah, and I mean, really, if you're not the one making those, as we say, decisive decisions to that hill just to the northeast of Ruins, there's a position there. If you're not going to make it into those compounds, these few buildings that we can see here and there within the zone, you really are going to be, as you say, the ones wanting to stay on the edge, avoid a lot of the fighting that will happen around the center of the zone. Sly, unfortunately, Dreamers, ironically, going to be the one to take them out here. Is they'll fall in 13th.
Well, you gotta love it. As I said, that Cat Baines' only chance was to wait. She goes straight across the bridge. Somehow, still with us. I have no idea how she did that, how she got past God of Anarchy, but GG's, good for you. Don't know how she managed that, but we will be seeing Dreamers finally go out. 4 eliminations is better than some of them, so still a fair game for them as Fairway go out as well. Not a good game for them again here. 1 point on the board, and that's it. Going downhill after that first win.
Yeah, that first win looked so good for them. We've seen it before, though. Langers Bliss, they're going to be the ones now to step up again here on Sanok. This is the second time Langers have started to get these eliminations, started to get that ball rolling here in the jungle. We'll have to see if it comes through to another successful win for them. Barce also stepping in on the south side of the zone. These teams making their move as that zone starts to close in. It's a big move indeed. Onto Flex. She's going to jump behind her. And Zeros finds one, but so low. Gets through the vehicle and clambers in for another move, but just gets pipped on the nade. Couldn't quite cook it in time. Sifa now up to her to punish. This push through. The nade isn't going to tickle the health bars. It's still, I can't find the members in Flex. They're keeping themselves alive, but it's a bloodbath down on this hill. Here is both teams are just slipping down on once again. Flex knocked. Struggling with his zone here as Phaser almost going down to the zone. Realizes not enough time to heal. And Phaser barely gets into the zone in time.
Oh my goodness me. Oh my goodness me, that was such a great play from Barce, but it just didn't work out. They didn't have that information. Layla going down to just literally half an HP there. AOR, they're having a hard time now as the zone moves downhill from most of these teams. You are seeing AOR in a great position though. They just need to utilize it, but the angles are so many down onto them that it is going to be hard for them to use it to its full potential.
Yeah, and this is all about trying to utilize those little rock cities his zone is provided for you, right? I mean, Lionesses, Cat Banes. She's so quiet, but Eddie does not know there's someone there. Lipso gonna go down in the background. That's the next knock. Flex again, struggling to get into this zone. Galatasaray, is gonna find AOR silently. And silently too here, Catbane's not making a peep. Is Wildcats right beside her.
I'm just waiting for that surprise, right? We want to see that on screen when she actually moves in. Because there she goes. Eddie did do it. GG. She wasn't expecting that at all as she does go out. Because she was smoking that entrance. I was like, she's going in there. She has to, right? So another point on the board for them before they do go ahead and almost go out. Not quite yet. Oh, AOR, see, that is a shame for AOR, but Galatasaray get 4 more points. But Langers, you're right, they're up to 10 eliminations now, just finishing up God of Anarchy. It's all going down, and now here we are, top 4.
Yeah, I mean, Langers, this seems to be their map here. This is where they feel most confident, clearly. At least the results say that much here in Neptura. In Galatasaray, they also one of course, the big favorites, maybe even the favorite of this stage 2 to be going through to the finals. A good performance for them. Top 4 here once more. 4 players alive. They need to hold this center of zone, though, as Langers, they're the ones on the edge. They need to step further in. Still Galatasaray keep control as Barce now out. KR Lionesses also falling down to our final 2. In Galatasaray, they are the ones with the control here. It's a big ask for Langers to get down this hill right now. You can see they're trying. They're trying from multiple angles here in Neptura.
They sure are. Oh, but the nades are gonna do it, right? That their solo player in the zone has just fallen, and I think that's gonna seal the deal here. There is no way they can do a 2v4 with these kinds of angles.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big ask, as we say. Galatasaray, they're gonna pop another one. It's really all about cleanup. Just control this zone. Don't let Langers come down. Let the zone do the work for them.
Yep.
It's gonna tickle away that health bar.
GG's.
And there they fall. The nade's gonna tickle the rest of that last health bar. And so will the zone, yeah. Galatasaray. It was slow. It was methodical, but it was effective here in Neptura.
It was.
And it's a second win in a row for them as well.
It is. It's their first back-to-back. And this is more the Galatasaray that we were wanting to see, right? Well, this is what we're more used to. Again, using the zone, using outside factors to do the job for them, right? As you mentioned. And we saw it in Miramar as well. They let the 2 teams do their own thing. They allowed circumstances to win the game for them without all that much effort on their part. They were just right time, right place, and they let everybody else do the work. So really well done. That is a smart team. You know, you just do what you need to do and let everything else happen. So really good job from them. Gotta hand it to the Lionesses and to Barce though, right? Because again, they're consistent. Yes, it's not that many eliminations on the side of the Lionesses, but it is a top 4. So that consistency still coming through for both of them.
Yeah, look, I mean, when it comes to these teams getting into those top positions, they're still coming through, right, with the eliminations. They're still coming through with the top placement points. Yes, they don't win at the end of the day. They still keep themselves up at a leaderboard, which is what is important, of course, with only the top 10 going through. In getting those types of points here from Galatasaray, 11 eliminations this time, and that chicken dinner, that's really going to start to separate here Galatasaray from the rest of this team.
Yeah, 100%. I'm so excited to see where the leaderboards actually are now because there was a lot of things that went down. There was a lot of teams that went out slightly surprisingly, and with the points rather all still so close. Yeah, you're right. Galatasaray have moved up ahead and probably quite a bit beyond that. But for the rest of these teams, it's very much up in the air where they're going to come in on those final leaderboards. So going to be interesting to see. Want to mention as well, Hilad, 322 meters on Sandhawk. That is huge. Where was she looking to get that kind of distance?
Yeah, I mean, it must have been from that L compound right in towards the zone itself when it shifted. It must have been one of those
Mm.
earlier eliminations. She will, with that longest distance elimination, also pick up the MVP. 7 eliminations for her, and also those 3 knocks. The damage
Mhm.
not as much, however. I sense a little bit of stealing going
Yeah.
on with those eliminations to have a
Yeah.
higher than 100 per elimination count, Neptura.
100%, especially when her assists are 0, right? So she's not even helping her team get those eliminations. She's just stealing them. So GG's her. She's going to be taking some eliminations left, right, and center. And that, honestly, is how you get ahead of the rest of the pack. Look at this 5, 2, 2, and 3. So Hilad doing a lot of good work there for her team. Tofita as well coming in there with more damage but far less kills. So that's an interesting dynamic there.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
look at it. It's LGS for the rest of this leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean, no surprise, right? Langer's Bliss, they were controlling this game. They moved from one squad to the next, to the one after that, Neptura, and it just seemed like they could not be stopped with their aggressive play and their, again, as we say, decisive decisions that they were going through with. And a similar story, right, for also Galatasaray. They made
Mhm.
a very decisive move the moment that zone shifted down
Yeah.
towards the ruins area to say we're going to move immediately from that L compound. You saw them heading down towards that area of the bridge, and rightly
Mhm.
so. They earned their position in terms of that win.
Yeah.
Barca equally, I think, a little bit of an unspoken hero in terms of the
Mhm.
points gathered this game. Still 5 for them, and as placement points get them still a good position at the top of this leaderboard.
Absolutely. I think with this, they've probably going to be keeping to that top 2, right? They were currently top of the leaderboard. I think Galatasaray has far surpassed them in that, but they are still going to be leading the rest of the crew. So yeah, it's a good result for them, good and consistent. It is what they need, right? Because they only need top 10. At the end of the day, they only need
Exactly.
top 10. So if they can stay top 3, if they can keep this consistency going over 10 games, this should be a piece of cake for them because they're looking so good at this point. I mean, double digits all 3 games. This should go very easily for them.
Yeah, and this is really important for teams like Barca as well, where they're playing today, they're playing tomorrow, but they're going to be sitting out on that last day. So they really need to pick
Mhm.
up a lot of these points in these first 2 days that they're playing, because those last 5 games, all 3 of these groups, right, are going to be tallied together on the same total overall leaderboard. So
Yeah.
they need to be sure that they are high up there, that they got a gap of those 5 games for when they eventually inevitably will start falling down the leaderboard overall on that final day.
Yeah, 100%. It's something we haven't really talked about, Highland, is the fact that, yeah, Group A only have today and tomorrow. They will not be playing day number 3. And while, yeah, okay, all 3 groups have 10 games each. Oh, hang on. Barca. 1 point ahead. They stay on top. All right, GG's. Good stuff. But Galatasaray, like, we're coming for you. We're within tickling distance, and we're gonna get you. Um, but yeah, I think all 3 groups have 10 games each, but there's something to be said for having the last 10 games rather than the first 10 games because
Right.
the last 10 games, yes, you have to climb your way back up to where the first 10 game teams were, but at the same time you have control over the end result, whereas group A will not have that control. They have to wait and see where they land at the end of day number 3. So definitely something they really have to consider, and so that's why you're kind of seeing a lot of these group A teams really try and put in that consistency now.
Right. And that aggression as well. I mean, it's Langers, it's
Yeah.
Barce, you see Sly with that
Yeah.
aggressive plays early on. So these teams, they really feel that pressure, of course, right, of getting those points. And it will be interesting to see now going back onto Miramar, right, Neptura, how that will play out with a more slower map
Yeah.
control based arena that is Miramar.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be a bit of whiplash coming in here, coming into Miramar, but we'll save that for after the break as we go on ahead and prepare that game for you. So stay tuned and don't go anywhere.
I'll be there when the lights don't shine. sleepless nights. I'll be there, make you feel alright. I'll be there, I'll be there. I'll be there when the lights don't shine. I'll be there in the sleepless nights. I'll be there, make you feel alright. I'll be there, I'll be
Welcome back, everybody. Here we are once again. I say that after every break, but it's true. Here we are once again. This time, for game number 4, we're going straight into dusty, sandy, hot old Miramar Island. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting really hot here when it comes to Miramar here, Neptune. So we're gonna have to see what happens when we come down onto this map. We saw a dominant though performance from Galatasaray. 2 chicken dinners now coming in to this game. Is it gonna be a hat trick? We've not seen one for a very long while in these leagues, Neptune.
It's true.
Galatasaray though, They're one of our dominant teams to do it.
Yeah, they are. It's what we expected from them in week number 1, and they just didn't seem to be able to get it done. Right now, though, looking much, much better for them. Looking much better for a lot of the teams we thought would be big, heavy hitters right out of the gate in week 1. So it's really nice to see. I am starting to worry a little bit, though, about foreign, right, though, Highland? I mean, we wanted a little bit more from them. They snuck into qualifications in the last day last week, but this time around with so many teams leaving the week 2 round, I don't think that's a safe strategy.
Yeah, and I mean, Galatasaray, they really clutched out, of course, previous Miramar game. They might be a bit more aggressive like we saw in Sanhok, sure, now that they warmed up from that previous map. However, it's a completely different style, of course, in Sanhok here. As we said, it's going to be
Mhm.
a little bit of a slower pace, more control-based game here that Galatasaray are going to have to pull off like they did in that previous Miramar, where they're looking much more at a position and about this team. And that is going to be also another one of these
Ooh.
northern zones. Galatasaray familiar being in Group B with a zone like this. We saw it
Yeah.
at the end of last week, a zone just like this one. So we'll be curious to see how they adapt to it. I mean, you're already looking at, of course, those positions like Shockwave Ride on the outskirts and those big
Mhm.
flanks. It could be really eye-catching moves for these teams to make make those bigger wraparounds and avoid a cluster in the middle.
Indeed. Indeed, as we see bonfire over in where is that? That's not La Bendita, is it? Yeah, it is. It is La Bendita. They're back there again. Unfortunately, outside of zone this time around, and there is a team nearby to them. Yes, Barce, Zeros up there. Not a team you want to go up against right this second, right? You know, Barce up at the top of that leaderboard right now, feeling pretty groovy. So you might want to stay out of their way just a little bit. They're riding a bit of a high right now, but TPES as well on the outside there. No car for Cupquake. That is concerning, but luckily there's no one around them, so they can just kind of get some leg day in and call it a day.
Yeah, so TPS, I believe, from a position were pretty far out here. So
Hmm.
suspecting that there's not gonna be a player around the zone. I mean, yeah, okay, you're 750 meters out. A lot of these players will be about 300, 400 to about that 800-meter mark away from the zone. So it is gonna be how these teams, as we say, move in towards the zone. Last time we did see, like, we see those wider rotations to the left where you see Shockwave up in La Rera, I believe it is, just before races. And then also towards that more eastern side as well. Was pretty popular by those teams to navigate around those big hills coming into the north side of the zone. These teams, though, might be a bit hesitant to go too far north, of course. The Slime Machine catching word here of flex is rightly so. This zone could shift in just like we're seeing now. That could cause them to be in a bad position for a fight. Is Sly seemingly pintering down Flex here?
Yeah, really nice off angle by Freeps. Good job here. Yeah, it's the same old that we keep seeing from them. It's Flex and it's Sly over in Impala every single time. And it never seems to work out for Flex, right? I think they may have won once, but in general, we don't see them be able to do this. And honestly, there's so many places in this area you could go. Why are you coming into week number 2 doing the exact same thing? It's annoying, especially when you have 1,300 meters to get to zone.
Yeah, I think the worst part about doing it in a second day of play is that now the team have also looked at the VOD. They've also researched the way that you're moving about the compound as well. So they'll start to
Yeah.
have a better idea outside of game now, seeing you as well, how you navigate the space. And they're looking to probably push a bit further up here, Sly. Fortunately for Flex, they've made a hasty escape here, you could say, to get
Yeah.
towards the back. I like this adaptation by them. They looked like they wanted to contest, and they did lose one, unfortunately. So now they are going to move towards the other end of his
Mhm.
compound here. Try to bake Sly forward, and Sly not taking that bait just yet.
No, indeed. That was a really, as you said, very quick response by Flex. I mean, they moved right back very quickly. So good for them. We want to see that. We want to see them survive a little bit longer. And Freeps almost going down there, but not quite. So that just gives Gabby a little bit more room to breathe. But actually, I'm not sure I like that from Gabby. I think she could have done without doing that. I think really the team wants to just move away completely and not engage. They just want to move on. I don't think it's worth it at this stage. And you did see Luna 6 up at top there with another off angle, so she's given away her position as well.
Yeah, and I mean, really, as well, by staying here, you give that opportunity, right, for Lena, for Slime members to make that better position for themselves, to cut you off if you're still within the area itself. So, really, Flex, they missed out on their opportunities. We said what they were doing was correct, moving away from the area. We'll have to see if that does allow a punish through for Sly onto the rest of those Flex members. Meanwhile, Rodan having the patron, God of Anarchy, just continuing to loot up towards the more southern points of this map. Holding firm for now. I mean, God of Anarchy, one of these teams who have been struggling to date. There's been a few of these teams who haven't been able to quite find the form that they had in this first stage. Just unfortunately, I think a few fights here from Gods of Anarchy early on in these previous games have been their downfall. You're really also looking towards some of these other squads. I mean, one of the big ones was Shockwave. We saw them earlier. I think who have been slightly struggling to finish off these games and get through that mid portion. AOR silently, a third of these teams who, again, just really struggling to avoid these early game fights. Bonfire, unfortunately for them, speaking of, will lose one of Sly on their road. Just an unfortunate position there.
Yeah, getting caught out is always rough, but at least for Flex, it means that they have decided to disengage completely. It's not worth it. They need to get into zone, etc. So Flex are safe for now. We will see where they end up moving into the zone, and Sly as well. 850 odd meters in, or away from zone rather, and they are going to be landing up at that northern side, right? I'd love to see where that zone has ended up going, but it's a minute until stage 2 closes in, so we'll see where that goes. Of course, we're hoping here on the desk for that Oasis finish, but are we really going to get it? I don't know.
I was really avoiding saying it, I'm sure.
Oh,
I'm
no,
really
sorry.
nervous. I'm really nervous. It's cut the tape. Like we can snip it, like, you know, like old VHS tapes. Just get rid of the middle bit. Yeah. They won't know that we mentioned it. Maybe they'll still go there. I'm really hoping we will see a more northern finish for overall, because actually we don't often see it. It was really interesting to see how those teams navigated it right last week, because it's somewhere that maybe these teams also aren't as familiar with. Yes, of course, they know the area, but it's not going to be as confident in playing around that area in the late games versus this caliber of teams like they would be, for example, around Los Leones, for example.
Ooh, I like AOR's position there. That really high ground, or leverage over onto the open ground rather, is looking very promising for them. They are inside of zone, and we will be seeing a new zone pop up in just a second. Yes, we do go over to the north, but also to the west. So La Cabrera is in play here. And look who snuck up behind Lex. It's Galatasaray.
Yeah, so Galatasaray sneaking in that bigger flank by what it looks like behind Flex. And they're actually going to control that northern side of the crater. So they will ultimately have a better position here, Galatasaray, over the side of Flex. I don't think it should amount to much. There is that crater, of course, in the middle. The train's pretty steep in difference, so don't expect really, unless 2 knocks at least come through onto one team, that the other will go for that push. It will just be about Galatasaray gatekeeping Flex right now and trying to find a better position for them to solidify their new spot in zone.
Did you also notice how many teams are actually outside of zone? And not only outside of zone, what's with Fairlight being all the way down on the southern coastline in stage 2 zone? I mean, this isn't Sandhawk. You can't just get into zone. It's gonna be quite the trek. I hope they're meted up, because man.
Yeah. I mean, never mind the meds. I always think that it's like with a game like Miramar, you have the meds maybe, but it's going to be a lot more expended compared to Sandhawk. You've got a lot less information, which is the main thing here at Neptura, because the information is so crucial on a map like Miramar, where really positioning matters, and having a good setup with multiple members of your team is so important to getting to those later portions of the game. It's not like Sandhawk where you can hide in a little dip, or Erangel where you can try to find people as a duo. You really need those 3 or 4 players in a good position if you want to be able to control that mid to late game phase.
Yeah, it's so true, and I think that's why a team like the Wildcats is generally so good on Miramar, because they know they have that teamwork and they know where they need to be individually to actually be able to work as a full squad. So you see them now taking a few pot shots over towards that team there, but I think in the end they're looking either for a regroup or just a complete moving on of their team here. Yeah, they're gonna move on. They're not gonna do it. They're gonna disengage here, and that's probably an okay spot to be in, because 16 seconds till the next zone. They're in zone for now, but are they going to be soon? So they're gonna regroup. They're gonna go into this really nice little compound, and we'll see where the zone takes them.
Yeah, and I like also the fact that they take this space, they avoid here Gods of Anarchy. They know that they can't find an initial knock, so they're now going to also have this big dip in front of them where it's going to block a lot of those teams coming from that direction at least. They know where Gods of Anarchy are going to be, and with an open expanse behind them, they can really trust that no one's going to be able to sneak up on them without being noticed by the Wildcats before they approach the building. Gods of Anarchy, they might look for a peek here or there. I don't imagine so much of it will come out of this, though. I mean, yes, even if you knock one player, you're very unlikely to be able to find that punish for the elimination.
Yeah, very unlikely indeed. And it's not enough time to actually push forward. So it's really just taking pot shots and kind of just, going, meh, I'm over here, and meh, you're over there. It's really all that is at this point. Nothing can come from it, except maybe if you do end up getting that knock, you can rotate elsewhere and get out of their way. But the way they're positioned, they don't need to. They can just rotate. So we'll see how that goes for them. Slime Machine on board with them, though. They are over in Graveyard, and they still have to get to zone a little bit, but they're currently topping the match leaderboard with 3 eliminations.
Yes, I mean, it's all from Bonfire, from Flex. They picked up little pieces of teams here and there on their road in towards Graveyard. Heading away in towards the zone, slowly, albeit, is they will need to get towards this hill by the looks of it. So we're going to have to climb a fair ways here towards into the zone. Sly currently finishing off their looting phase for now as well. Good utility, which is what I think I like to see from a team that has been pretty much on the road for a lot of time. This is really the time that they're using now later in the game to finish off that looting that they missed earlier in the match from those eliminations. So it is important that they don't just continue moving on, right? They can grab that little bit of loot that they can. Here, Langer's Bliss, though. Foreign up on that first elimination. Langer's stepping back for now. It's them who are being surrounded by Foreign from these 2 angles here, which is complicating things here for them as well. No nades, but they don't need the nades to be able to punish a second onto Langers, who just in a poor spot, just getting caught here by Foreign Esports, giving away of that mountainside in a high ground advantage all the way over with the reward of 2 limbs.
I mean, this is exactly what Foreign needed, though, right? I mean, they couldn't have gone up against a better team in terms of a team that isn't really needing the points, right? Langers had a really good first 3 games, so if they have a bad game here, it's not the end of the world. But for Foreign, this is something they really need. They've got very few points on the board, and they could really use a good game here. So hopefully, they can pull this off. They can do something good here. But Barce looking to just put a wrench in all of their plans.
And also its zone. I mean, look at how it's separated
Yeah.
these teams into really quadrants here. You've got a northern quadrant it could shift to. That east is quite open and hillside towards KLINS's advantage. Galatasaray controlling that western quadrant with more rocks on the hills. And that south, it could always shift down there. And the problem is with this is there's that big open middle part that separates all of those quadrants that we're talking about. So if these teams, they have to shift over to one other side, which very likely one of these sets of teams will have to do, it's going to be pretty chaotic for them to be able to make it to the opposite end of zone.
But it's very strange to watch this, actually, because Foreign were having a fight, and then Barce decided to third-party that fight, and now Barce are getting third-partied by somebody else. So, yeah, the zone's really creating this trickle-down effect of, teams being backstabbed by other teams. That's just how that terrain works, right? Up top of water treatment here, it's very open down towards that south side. So you have to really pay attention to your back when you're going up this direction. But in general, it's a really, really good spot to have. I do enjoy this area, so hopefully the zone moves this direction because I'd love to see more of it.
And it gives a lot of information, of course, towards the upper end of the zone. It's one of the highest points in this zone. You can see Foreign getting caught, but indeed, as you say, right, it's the teams in the back. You can see that they're tickling away at a health bar. That help from the front, of course, as well, is what brings down Barce. They're very up front, though, in this fight, and you can see the fairway taking advantage of that. They knew that there were players being knocked in that vicinity. So Yagi, very quick here to look for a punish onto Barce. They'll find one as they're trying to cook a nade, but they have to dodge out of the way a bit. Yagi steps back down the hill, will avoid the explosion for now. They find the first limb, they'll find the second. And very nice punish through from fairway. Grabbing those two limbs is about, can they finish them off, though? They have to step up on this hill, and you can see they're hesitant of those other angles. They're trying to use the rock, they're trying to peek that damage forward onto the Barce member. Both now half health. They'll go for another spray.
Jeez.
Yagi better off, and they will find a third.
Geez, there. To be honest, the Lionesses have an excellent position coming through here, and they're just able to do a lot of damage to this fight. It's a great way of third-partying without getting super involved, right? They're able to keep their health up while doing major damage to this fight, and so Foreign really unable to do a whole lot here, just down to that solo. It's gonna be a tough ask for her to actually get inside of zone. No, she's not going to be able to do it. And honestly, I don't think she ever was going to be able to. Lots of things would have had to happen for her to have a way in. So GG, she did her best. The zone, though, does go over to water treatment, so everybody's going to be going that direction. And I feel really bad for Dreamers because, yes, they are in zone, but they've got a whole bunch of teams that have to cascade past them now.
I feel really bad for Langers, right? I mean, they just went down to a duo. They hit away water treatment, hoping that they would have some respite. Everyone's really going to be looking in that area to head down to water treatment for that cover that it's going to bring. I think also the hill, these teams are going to try to be looking to control that area. These teams in the western end, though, they're going to have such a hard time here, Neptura, getting across that big open middle portion of the map, right? I mean, you saw it as well. Dreamers right in the middle of that point. All of them really have to avoid getting caught by those teams in the hill, and they're going to really rush in, you can see, to avoid being caught in that danger zone. AOR silently really now in between here at the side of Shockwave, and even stuck in behind the fence here in the end game, but they'll come together. AOR silently in this zone. It's just whether it can hold a position and whether Shockwave here in the outskirts can even survive with all of these eyes looking down on Shockwave's position.
Yeah, I think they've got a pretty secluded spot compared to a lot of other teams. But yeah, there's definitely that threat behind them that's really making sure they can't move much more forward than that. So they're going to have, at least they have a little bit of time to think about it, but they don't have that much time. And the Lionesses are moving forward fairly quickly here. Sly still holding on, 5 eliminations and 3 still up. So not a bad result for them. But honestly, with 15 teams still up, the game's only just starting.
Yeah, it's incredible that there's still 15 teams here, right? I
Yeah.
mean, Foreign, the only one down right now, Slimer, she might be very shortly coming to join them, is KLINSs have turned their attention towards here Sly. They're going to separate out. They have put a member or two around Sly's area right now on the arrows and where those Lioness's view is pointing. The Wildcats, though, as well, fought here around the side of Legs, but Legs, can it just find the hay bale? No, it cannot, and they will fall. The Wildcats taking another on around water treatment here, still in the same position, but very much out of the zone here, in a big drop down that cliff to be able to get into the zone.
Yes, indeed. Oh my goodness. I'm surprised the Wildcats are still here. I mean, I guess it gives them a really nice wide overview of the valley below, right? And you can see there's nobody really down there. So, it is a good position, but they're leaving it awfully late to start moving as the zone hikes way back up to the north side. Luckily, it favors most of these teams, right? Not everybody's having to come down, but it still leaves 3, 4, 5 teams outside on that south side.
Yeah, they're very lucky that here Death Valley shouldn't play too much of a forward in the side of his squad. So a lot of his teams are very high north of the zone. So it's really only the teams around them that will cause the most problems, which they can manage a bit easier considering they're on the same side of the ridge, right? They're not shooting from the other end of the ridge where it can be a lot more complicated to reach them without going for that really aggressive push along that big open valley itself. So it is more fortunate for these teams on south. It's not easy though. In Galatasaray, these teams, they're holding on for now. You can see Wildcats making that move. Finally, they'll go. They're losing members and they're stopping in the middle of the valley. This could be really risky for them. If they get caught, a lot of smokes might have to be used if they will pause their position coming up onto Water Treatment Hill.
Dreamers have to clear God of Anarchy here. They do. Well done. But that was so vital for them. Now they have a clear run in, but they have to time it well as well, right? Because they do have a lot of teams still looking at them. They have to really think about who's fighting ahead, who's fighting behind, and when they can either third party or use that distraction of other teams to slip in unnoticed. So they've got to think very carefully about their next move here. As Galatasaray moves straight into the Wildcats, this could be Dreamer's spot.
Yeah, and they find one, but have they got enough bullets in the clip? They need to reload, and Yoiku gets caught by the third vehicle. ALM trying their best, but in zone, you can see it, stage 5 is hurting her a lot in the health bar. They will finish off Galatasaray, but what can they do now to get into the zone? They're going to grab the vehicle. Is it even enough time to avoid the damage to the zone? It won't be. The zone will clean them through. And like Wildcats pushes down to 9 teams.
Jeez, that was a big fight coming in and takes out 2 of the top Miramar teams, right? So this again looking really good for the Lionesses. Look at their spread across the north side, but teams are starting to close in behind them. The Dreamers did not fare so well, down to just 2 now. It's going to be difficult for them to do much more with the amount of teams on their side there. Shockwave, that could be a perfect Molotov onto Hate Me. It's a little close though.
Now Shockwave, they're stepping up to Lionesses. They've been really uncontested here to Lionesses this entire game for the amount of damage that they've been poking around with. Lisa, and it's going to be on the flank, very low down. You can see there's a big high up position of the Lionesses. It's all on Sly to keep them distracted. Shockwave, they're staying alive for now because Sly are really the distraction. They don't want to drive their position all the way away from Sly to punish Shockwave, and instead they will be punished themselves. Shockwave find a knock here, and this will affect them now as they try to compound onto Sly, and Amelia is saying, well, we are still here and we will take a second. We will demand your attention. And the Lionesses had to flush through Sly even further now as it's down to 2 for the Lionesses. And again, they're just falling apart at the end. It's so good early on. But now, finally, do they finish them through?
My.
They will get the job done, but it was messy.
Very messy indeed. Lots of fire, lots of everything. But again, top 5. And we're starting to see, Island, we're starting to see a bit of a trend, right? LGS, Barce, and we now see the Lionesses all in the top 4. Fairway, that's their best game in 2 games, right? So 8 points going their way in the top 5. Not bad. Sly finally stepping up in a major way here after only 1 point in Sandhawk. So looking very good.
And don't forget AOR silently. They may be a
Yeah.
single, but they're in the top 4. They've got 4 eliminations here. This is huge for their position. They were struggling today. This will be big. Don't expect Jilavaya to come out with a win. Here would be
Yeah.
amazing, but as a solo in his position outside of the zone, she's just trying to survive her very best. She's got no healing, but she does have those smokes. Maybe she can pull off a third. We'll have to see how these final positions play through, because everyone is on a stalemate. It's stage 7 and it's stage 8. It's going to have to decide where these teams begin to start to move. Lionesses hovering a little over here in Slime Machine. Kimetsu's feeling a nade through, but it will go very wide as Lashika shifts the position left.
It's looking like Sly's got that upper hand, but they're the farthest outside of zone. Beautiful little spray onto Kawhi. And the Molotov to finish her up. That's just mean, doing the business while she moves on to other targets. Kawhi does go on out, and now it's just Logica on her own.
Oh,
Don't fall into the
Molly!
fire!
Oh, the Molly affects now Logica, but finally Sly will fall to Langers, who third-party the eliminations, but they lose the value of those points. Lionesses did all that work, and they lost both of those elims.
Yeah.
AOR silently taking even a player off of the roster for the Lionesses, down to a solo as well, and Langers, very bold here, moving in, using the crate as also that blockade, that point of cover. Logica is very firm, waiting for AOR Silently's position in this zone. They know that that zone is going to hit AOR Silently first, but Langer's behind her. They have to be careful. Logica grabs one note, very quick on the swivel. AOR Silently almost goes down to the second of Langers. In Lionesses is struggling as they are. They might have a position. It could be anyone's game. It's all solos for this final 3. And it will be Lionesses getting sprayed, but still alive. Tetelka cannot find it, but they will almost go down silently. A brilliant position. Jelafire pushing them against the zone, and they will grab her. But now, Logica has the health advantage, but she goes so low, and it's one bullet, and silently, very decisively take that win. I did not expect a performance like that from Jelabaya.
Not at all. And can we just go back to where to where you said, well, we can't expect a win from Jelavaya there. Interesting.
Yeah,
Highlands.
I mean, look, the positions, they didn't speak to Jelabaya, but she spoke to the zone and she demanded that was hers.
She absolutely did a really good performance there. I honestly thought Logica had that in the bag, right? She had that high ground. She had everything going, but then she just turned around at the wrong time. Able to get stabbed in the back, able to have all that damage done to her. And so, she was able to, well, she was not able to do a whole lot. She went out. So really, really good work from them. Just all that top 3. It was really a tough spot to be in, but hey, it worked out.
Look, I honestly also thought the Langers Bliss had a really dominant position. When it came down to a 1-on-1 and they had the 2 players, you really thought they would have been able to find an angle there. And as much as AOR silently also did a fantastic job and Jelavaya won them that game, you also have to credit the fact that Logica took out one of those Langers Bliss members and really helped Jelavaya, right, to make it into that 1-on-1 at the end towards the zone. Brilliant work though through from them, and to have those 8 eliminations and those 18 points in total, really gonna boost their morale, because they were struggling here those first 3 games.
They really were, and it was something that they desperately needed, and it's something that they got. 337 though from the Dreamers coming in here, longest elimination distance, only 4 more meters than Sandhawk, which is kind of crazy. Girls, we need more snipers. Give us snipers.
Look, I mean, they were healing. That's what they were doing here.
They
Almost
were.
11K healing. I mean, that is a, a phrase really from the fact that there were 16 teams still alive here healing away
Right.
until that phase 4 point. I mean, that really, you got to imagine, is what did it. 213 throwables, though. Not a lot, I think, compared to
Mhm.
how many players we saw at the end of points
Yeah.
of that game. I actually expected that to be a little bit more even than what we saw. It maybe also comes down to the point the team is really were moving a lot in that early game because, of course,
Yeah.
the zone was so far north.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. It was a very difficult zone to be a part of, especially when you think about we went to zone, I don't know, 5, maybe even 6 with still 15 teams. So
Yeah.
when you think about the terrain, the size of the zone and the amount of players all battling, it was insane that anybody got as far as they did, let alone Jelavaya, who had been a solo for a good while.
Yeah, and I mean, deserved MVP though with
Oh
that
yeah.
900 damage. She got all of those eliminations, of course, really towards the end, and did survive until that phase 9 point it was heading to. It was
Yeah.
really towards that last second of the zone. And I think for a while silently, really not only a performance for this stage, but for the confidence of the whole tournament, right? They barely
Mhm.
got in here in 15th position in their group. They were struggling through the first 3 games, as we've said today. This
Yeah.
confidence is really going to help them moving into this last Durango game.
100%. I totally agree. I'm definitely going to be looking forward to seeing how they go in this next Orangle. Now, it could be a little bit harder, right? Because in some ways, you could kind of say, well, they took advantage of a very difficult zone. So, had the zone been a little bit more normal, or perhaps had it been on Orangle, which everybody knows better, maybe they wouldn't have had the chance that they did, right? But you've got to think about the best teams adapt and the best teams take advantage of really horrible situations. Because if it's horrible for a team like Galatasaray, then it's really bad for a team like AOR, who, like you said, just as well just squeaked into week 2 at all.
Yeah, and I mean, also, I think that the crucial part, right, is it's difficult for everyone. And I mean, there were teams that suffered under that pressure. So,
Hmm.
KLINS's, I think they really could have had that game. They had such a
Yeah.
chokehold on that mountaintop. They really fumbled it, I think, around that fight between Shockwave and Sly, right? They were
Yeah.
fighting between two. It was a big blunder to move out of that smoke, and Shockwave still there, taking the first knock. A few mistakes really cost the Lionesses, I think, that game. It could have really been their chicken dinner.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, they still get 11 points. Slime Machine get that 10 points for
Nice.
themselves. And that too, alongside Fairway, getting some more points in the bag because Fairway, as much as they, of course, took that first win, were a little bit absent, of course, in those previous other games.
Yeah, they were. So it is going to be a big boost because what we saw at the end of last game was still a very small gap between teams all the way down the leaderboard, right? So 18 points is really going to boost them anyway. But now what they've got on their plate is a lot more consistency to show us, right? They've got to do well in this next game, and they've got to do well tomorrow as well. They need to be able to do the same things. So we'll see how they go. We'll see how consistent they can be in the next 6 games of week 2. But yeah, I really need them to do that. If they're going to make top 10, that's what they have to do.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly as we say what they have to do, especially considering that they are going to have to really be fighting in the last day as well. They've got today, they've got this next game. Then they're
Hmm.
going to be sat out as part of Group B until the final day. So they're going to miss tomorrow's games. They're going to have to
Right.
rely on catching up on that last day. And as much as we
Hmm.
always say that it then puts the fate right into your own hands, it
Hmm.
also means they've got a lot of catching up to do as well.
Right.
And they've got to make sure they stay further up on this leaderboard. They're doing well right now. It is still although it's really close, right? I mean, you've got
Yeah.
29 points. Yeah, a bit of a gap here between seventh. Around that top side, it's very close. As soon as you move down towards Shockwave, again, really only 9 points between them and heading
Mhm.
towards 13th, even then 14th position.
Yeah, which, as we've seen from these girls, is really just a decent game, right? No matter where
Yeah.
you place, most of these teams get 5 or 6 eliminations at minimum. You know, if you're top 8, you've already got quite a few eliminations under your belt. So 9 points in the women's league is nothing. So definitely something that they can really do. We will see how this last game goes for them. We will see that, and we'll be right with you after this break.
I'll be there when the lights don't shine. I'll be there in the sleepless nights. I'll be there, make you feel alright. I'll be there, I'll be there. I'll be there when the lights don't shine. I'll be there in the sleepless nights. I'll be there, make you feel alright. I'll be there, I'll be there. Looking at me like you're scared, baby. Come on over here, I won't bite now. You've got all that mystery locked inside. You gotta see. Do you wanna stay all night? 'Cause I'll be there when the lights don't shine. I'll be there in the sleepless nights. I'll be there, make you feel alright. I'll be there, I'll be there. I'll be there when the lights don't shine. I'll be there in the sleepless nights. I'll be there, make you feel alright. I'll be there, I'll be there.
Welcome back, everybody. Here we are. I'm getting better at that. Welcome to day number 1 of week number 2 and game number 5. We're going to be going straight back to Erangel, right? And we did talk a little bit before the break which teams we really need to see do well in this game.
Look, I mean, when we're talking about what teams need to do well, AOR silently need to keep this consistency going before they have that rest day in between our 3 days here.
Mhm.
We've also, keep in mind, got all of our teams from Group A really that we're looking at, because
Yeah.
these are the teams that I only have today and tomorrow, right, Neptune? And
Right.
this is, by this point, at the end of this game, halfway mark for them.
Mhm.
They're going to need to make sure that they have those good points in the standings, because Group C are coming in tomorrow and they get those last 2 days to play.
Exactly. So, I think it's group B that are going to end up not playing tomorrow. They're going to be playing day number 3
Yeah.
here. So those
Yes.
teams are Shockwave, Foreign, Fatum Lex Slayers, AOR, Galatasaray, God of Anarchy, Denise Bank Wildcats, and the KR Lionesses. They will not be joining us tomorrow. They will be back on Wednesday. So this game really is their last game for a little bit here.
And you know what the craziest part is?
Mm.
That there's a fair few chunk of those teams at the top of the leaderboard. I mean,
Yes.
KR, Galatasaray, I mean, Wildcats are one of those contenders, right,
Yeah.
as well. AOR silently just coming off of a big Miramar game there as well, and the left-hand side of the leaderboard. So we will have to see how that changes up the leaderboard, especially by the end of tomorrow. We're going to
Mhm.
have definitely some new leaders in those top
Yep.
positions. Although there's still one more game to go, and there is still time to extend that lead, of course. I mean, definitely Galatasaray, one of those teams looking to keep that consistency up, right? I mean, they have been one of the most consistent teams today, really doing pretty well, I would say, minus that last game was a little bit rough for them, we
Mhm.
could say, for Galatasaray. Outside of that, though, first 3 games, very strong for them.
Very strong indeed. Oh, and the zone does go over to that western side, right? So definitely looking at the Wildcats for this one. They love going up to Mount Everest. I think they'll probably make a hasty rotation up there fairly soon. In terms of Shockwave down to the south side, LGS and Dreamers. All 3 of these teams should be making their way into zone fairly quickly here, especially to avoid each other. The real losers out here is going to be the Lionesses, right? They're very, very far away from this zone.
Yeah, I mean, sure, they are very far away. I think the one advantage they have, though, is that they are so far away that no one's going to be around their location, right? I mean, they're going to be able to wrap around behind Stalber. They're going to be very up north of the northern side of Erangel itself. Maybe even towards the ocean. They'll skirt around there on the beaches to get back into the zone, head down towards the northern side of Georgia Pole. That could be an option for them. I think that would be one of the more feasible options for them. Heading down into that middle portion is a little bit suicidal when it comes to their ability to win ads on this game, because I think that if they do end up going directly in, it can cause a lot of problems for those teams, right? I mean, heading around in Georgia Pole, those bridges to Riverside as well, really already has a lot of players on it right now. So it's all about trying to avoid the lack of information that Lionesses have to make the most out of their position when the zone goes away from them.
Interesting that Dreamers have continued to commit to the military base, though, right? Because that zone definitely isn't there. They have an enemy in LGS that know they went that direction. So I'm kind of wondering if they're considering a botation over onto the west coast, which wouldn't be the worst idea, right? They have those vehicles to get to the coast quickly, and then they can find a boat and go from there. But they would have to do this fairly quickly, I think, just because there will be teams looking out for that botation when a zone like this pops up, which is a lot of water.
Yeah, and especially with that water, right? That is always something we got to consider. Is the zone likely, of course, not going to go towards the ocean? It is something that always could be a possibility, and it also does affect, right, the space that is available for these teams already in this phase one is just a little bit less. That can affect those some positions of teams when it has to go, of course, deeper past Gatka Fields now and really into the beginnings, as you say, Everest and those hills, heading towards that deep west area where teams can be waiting more easily for them and can start to take them out.
Galatasaray in Pachinki. Good gatekeep position from them, but I think they're going to be having to wait a little while. I think a lot of teams are going to be looking to move to that northern side or the complete southern side. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of west eastern participation, to be honest. I think Galatasaray might have to move out of that area, even just to Pachinki Hills, right? Just a little farther south onto a popular rotation route. That's probably where they're going to be the most useful to their points, to their leaderboards. So we'll see how that goes for them. Foreign spotted out a couple of teams making their rotation and just hit the ground, started snaking. And fair enough, they need points in this last game. They cannot afford to go out now, Highland. And with Sly looking around, looking for players to take out, I think that was probably the best idea.
Yeah, I mean, Sly, this is something they've been doing really throughout the entirety of today. It's their bread and butter, moving around very actively early on. They utilize more the mid portion of that game, of course, to loot up, as they're going to head directly towards the Everest position. I suspect that they might go around Everest here towards those buildings and continue just getting a little bit more of that loot into their pockets before they would go up to Everest, and also avoid that location as well, in case anyone, of course, is around there. You don't want to get caught on Everest if you are running around this much early on. They're unlikely to be able to have the utility to cope with a team easily around that area.
Indeed. The crates, interesting 2-2 split, but yeah, the crates are a little bit more central as well here. But Sly have found somebody, but I don't think they like it too much. They were looking for that that elimination opportunity, but not onto themselves. But it does look like maybe Galatasaray and Wildcats in the back. Okay, that's who was shooting at them. Foreigner nowhere to be seen. They are safe for now. Sly Machine though gonna be moving into this small area. We'll see how that works out for them. The zone seems very slow this time around. I don't know what's happened, but it just seems like the game's taken a little while to get going as the zone makes its own way over to stage number 2. Still got a minute and a half until it actually closes.
I mean, partly, of course, teams are getting more used to each other, but also because teams are just making less mistakes early on, right? I mean, they're not getting caught out, they're not splitting too far from their teammates and losing a member. You've still got everyone together on every single team. No one's even found each other really yet. Of course, with that zone being so westerly, teams going to continue just staying in that one location that they found earlier on with a plain path to loot up. Then they'll start to move later. As you can see here, Dreamer is a good example of that, coming out from the South Island. I actually really like that they moved to that South Island. They didn't drop onto the south initially, but they rotated there, knowing that it was highly unlikely the team would be around that area, and if they maybe even didn't see any parachutes moving towards that area, made that quick move to really get themselves looted up in that military base to then move upwards into the zone with much more loot than perhaps other teams. It's God of Anarchy just gonna get caught here onto TPS. This is just unfortunate for TPS. Losing one.
Oh my goodness me, God of Anarchy. Yeah, definitely losing one there. I thought it was gonna be bye-bye TP, bye-bye God of Anarchy there, Kamikaze going out, but it wasn't. She saved it, she got it together. She didn't panic like I would have done, so GG's wisely done there. Layla just spitting out, unfortunately. Worst possible place. The zone moves in, and the zone looks like it's centering up, right? We're not going down to that south side, and in fact, God of Anarchy moving in the wrong direction here. They're going to want to move a little bit more north. I'm surprised they got out of that, actually, in one piece.
Yeah, I mean, God of Anarchy here. Banshee. They're going to step into a stop really here around the fields. I think they're suspecting perhaps a chase happening, between that team if they did stop around. So they're wanting to make sure they don't get chased too easily from behind. They could try to sneak a turnaround and punish. Very risky to do though in the fields. I'm not sure I would agree with the position they're trying to do it in. However, both of those teams and the team behind them will get away for now. Dreamers also alive. There's a little bit of collision happening here, but they will make it through to the zone unscathed-ish. A little bit of health missing. A shockwave. Just gonna also meet them here in the middle, looks like, as the two teams around that hill will be curious to see if they meet each other.
Yes, indeed. Carolinesses love a good bridge, both on Sandhawk and on Erangel, and they're going to be moving across it over into South George. So, yeah, that is confirmation. The zone has gone a little bit to that north side, but it is mainly centering up, right? Nothing too crazy going on. Fair Fana, she's finally caught up with God of Anarchy. She was following them, actually. So she's actually picked one up, but we'll see if she can flush that knock out. So far, it is just a knock, but we'll see. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean, Carolinesses, don't expect so much from them to come through with also looting up. You can see Fairway, of course, we were saying, do get that knock. It looks like it has come through to possibly an elimination here, if I am counting my players correctly here. There is now 2 missing from this game. Galatasaray still within the same position around this more mountainous side of Everest, just off the side of Wildcats, have not moved. They got plenty of loot. They don't need to. I mean, look at how much they've got on that utility. I mean, really, Galatasaray, one of these teams as well to actually, I think, focus more on utility than ammo. You see a lot of these other teams, right? They only have a few smokes, maybe. Yeah, okay, maybe more nades, but even not that much between them individually. So Galatasaray, much more heavy on that utility. An interesting play style, I think, is something that we usually see, I think, more on some of the major leagues, right? Where teams are much more heavily towards the utility, much more conservative about how they use their ammo available to them. Something different just to note, I think, especially with the more centralized play style, of course, and the more aggressive plays that these teams in this tournament really like to do.
Langers actually have a fantastic position right now. This dip is becoming more and more popular with players. I see as the zone continues to kind of tend more towards the western side, you see that dip being used very effectively because it's so difficult to actually push without really being seen. It's very open in the surrounding area, a bit like Ruins over in Sandhawk, and La Bandita as well in Miramar. So it is a really good spot, and Langers, with the way they've been performing so far tonight, definitely the team to get the most out of it. So gonna be keeping an eye on them for sure. As AOR, they have a full squad still, but they have one that's very, very low. Remember, I did say I was going to be watching them a little bit as we saw them win the last game. We need to see them step up in that consistency. So far, not a whole lot going on, but honestly, that's how it is for the rest of the lobby. We still have full squads. Full lobby, 16 teams, and only 2 eliminated so far. So just something to consider as that player goes down lower and lower. Not sure what's going on there. Galatasaray hold up in this compound. They look like they're going to be chilling for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, here, Barce as well. They are just being chilling here right now for the meantime. Not going to be fighting too much here onto the side of Flex. Is Flex holding their own position? Everyone very careful right now with how they move into this zone. Dreamers, there will be a knock here from Langris, Bliss, and Shockwave. Not sure who quite picked that one up for the knock. Revive will come through though, and no one will suffer the elimination for now. The more dangerous point though is that zone, right? You can see behind Dreamers, it is something to note, and especially as we move here towards stage 3, it's going to be something that starts to shift in these players' minds about where they are positioned, where they want to be going as the pace of this game does begin to speed up. It's going to go towards Hospital and South George Paul Crates. This is really going to be a case of teams deciding if they want to move in all the way to the compound, or if they want to deal with those more hilly terrains and those small buildings in between.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, I'm all for the latter personally. Open areas, couple of buildings to dip in and out of. That's where I do best. But for some of these teams, that's not the case, right? Galatasaray do really well in both. They don't mind a compound. Shockwave do quite well in the compound, I think, as well. So it good choices between the two of them, and we'll see which one they go for. Shockwave definitely going for that western side, making a very quick rotation, which I appreciate coming in from them. Slime Machine as well, moving straight into that western side. I mean, that's probably the better option of the two, considering where the zone is going and the trajectory. I would almost say kind of right behind Hospital, and that western coast down there would probably be the best option here. That's probably where that zone is going to end up going. Everest not looking good for a lot of teams, I have to say. Wildcats, I'm not sure how much they want to actually commit to that spot.
And keep in mind, Wildcats, the two players were up there for the entirety of the game. We saw them in the very early rotation with Sly, so they don't have that much loot, I would imagine, in terms of utility, in terms of healing, to be going extended into this game in the way that the zone has gone. This zone really is speaking towards perhaps a phase 7, maybe even phase 8 here. Possibly you go into phase 9, but it's definitely looking towards a more extended way of play, being more open, being more reliant on that utility. Hospital is great, yeah, but there's a team already there, so instead you have to now look at these more open areas. Like you said, the beach is also a great opportunity for teams. If they have that less loot, if they want to be more quiet in this middle game, they can try to head off towards the coastal line and stay up to a position there, and maybe the zone goes towards them.
Yeah, that's a good... Oh, hang on. I was going to say, that's a good idea for a lot of these teams that need some points, but Dreamers need points, and Sly are not giving them any. Oh my goodness me, getting taken out. There goes one, but it's a nade off between these two. Does some damage to Molly, but not enough to the other, but Christo does go down on the other side. So, oh, Molly does hit Molly on that one. The nades keep flying in, and Barbie, one of the last ones alive here, might just get backstabbed. No, not quite. That's her teammate, not the enemy.
Like, Farazina, she is really in a corner, though, with Sly. She needs to get to these revives, but you can see the moment she steps outside, she would be naded. The angle with Sly have is just too strong. They're going to finish off these elimination points in behind. It was a brilliant bait. Sly Machine finish away. Farazina and Dreamers, the last place team. And surprising considering we're heading into phase 4 already.
Yeah. It is. So is Dreamers going out with 0 points as well, but you know what? It's okay. They've done one day, but at least they got another day to catch up with some points that they may have fallen behind on. Galatasaray still chilling. They're gonna chill for a while. This is what we've seen from them for the rest of the evening, to be honest. They will just chill for a little bit. Oiku does go down though, so you do see the Wildcats meeting with some opposition. How long are you gonna hold that nade? Smoke, there you go. But they don't end up... Oh, dear me. I almost wonder if that was a little bit of an oopsie on their part, right? You don't want to see that. Just a little bit of a delay ends up losing Oiku completely there, and it is Barce to pick up that eliminations. So we're looking at these eliminations starting to trickle in, Highland.
Yeah, indeed. As we check in towards here, Georgia Paul as well. It's gone down away from this location in towards Hospital, very centralized. Lionesses, Galatasaray, they are the ones defending the compounds right now. There is a hill between them. There could be some teams looking towards this area. They're all moving in, and Langers have looked to enter onto the building here of Shockwave Nepture.
They do indeed. Oh, but it's a three-way fight almost, and they gotta move in very, very quickly here as the rest of the teams come charging through. You got Fairway, you've got lots of other teams. You got Sly on the other side there as well. Gonna have to be very, very quick with this. This is not a fight you want to mess about with.
Yeah, Langer's Bliss. Tefka also moving in. They're trying to step in towards Shockwave. They're trying to find that flank. They're trying to find the angle. They can't quite do it. Fairway, though, will fall down to Galatasaray. Also, Shockwave, third partying. It looks like he would slide, chipping in there for an elimination. Bliss still holding, though, his position. Shockwave have wrapped all the way around. And now, trying to find the flank. Sesha, it might end up being a 1v1 around that warehouse. They are going to eventually find each other as they step further in. There's smokes. You cannot see a single thing.
Oh my goodness.
In the central belt is all on the side positions. Tefka waiting on side as the rest of the team push in. It will be in the warehouse they'll go, but it's Shockwave. They've moved away. It's only the one they'll be able to grab. Amelia will fall, and that will be a quick flush through the elimination now. A nade could be beautiful here onto Shockwave if they find it. They walk in,
Not quite.
but it won't be able to find them. Surely a wall blocked it there is Shockwave. Now also festering with the zone. They need to step
that's a
forward. They've got that
Molotov.
1 minute 30 in Langer's Bliss. They're just trying to keep them in this position. They know with this extended fight, they win.
Yeah. It's such a dangerous game to play, though, because yes, the zone's gone away from them. Yes, they do have the upper hand. But look at all the teams right above them, right? It does look like that team to their left is going to win out. They're going to move to zone. Same with Galatasaray on their right-hand side. So they've got to be very careful with how they play this.
Yeah, I mean, that is Galatasaray, I believe, right up there above them. So they have that hospital position. They'll be able to directly look down on them from the hill. You can see the terrain just a little bit, the way that goes down towards Langer's Bliss position. Flex Esports, very much stuck on this northern side in the zone. Yes, they've got a building. Look at all of those other teams, though, trying to also navigate their way around. In the way that the buildings actually block a lot of those line of sight you can see from the position of Bar State. Yes, that's a little of a peek through a window. You cannot really punish Barsay from getting in here. They can use those buildings, and they will be able to step up towards the side of Flex, realistically unharmed, unless the team behind them steps up.
This is going to be tough, because now you've still got that open areas, Flex. Oh, it's all going down for the top squads up the north side there. You got Flex having a little bit of a hard time. They're holding their position for now. But you've also got Lex down there as well. So Flex, Lex, and all the rest of them just moving in bit by bit by bit. You got a third team now trying to make their way in. It's Barsay, top of the leaderboard team right now, trying to move in as well. They're full squad. Brilliant nade. They knew exactly where she was, and that is going to spell disaster for Flex Island. They can't afford to lose a single one, and that knock just means they're open to pushing.
Yeah, I mean, Flex, they really tunnel visioned themselves into this building, into this attic. They've cornered themselves in a way for Barsay to step up here. Of course, we said Barsay, they were going to be able to come in and pressure, really without that, of course, advantage of being able to stop them coming in towards the building. However, Flex, they've just been gotten caught here by the zone. In Barsay, they have the advantage now. It's 2 down for Flex. The nade over the top, though. Is it going to land?
No.
No, it doesn't look like it. In Wildcats, they will fall eventually.
What?
Calypso from behind.
Where was she this whole time?
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Lex just hiding in the building there. Catches out another of Flex, and it's gone from wrong to horrible here for the single remaining. It's Bonfire very much within the smoke, only seeing white. They'll put down some more of that smoke, could hide themselves away from Galatasaray around that hill. As nevertheless, Bonfire being exploded by the Lionesses. Never mind a nade on top of them.
Goodness. Oh, who's that in the middle there? Oh, it's God of Anarchy is the only team inside zone right now. Unfortunately for them, that compound does not look up that hill to where Bonfire have moved up into, so it's going to be a difficult one for them to defend. But oh my goodness, this open area, as long as they stay shush, they stay quiet, they could have a really good idea here. Because look at that mini-map! Oh my goodness me!
Oh, they're all going in. It's happened here, Neptura, and it's a cluster bomb of players. Barce, they're trying to keep on top here. Bonfire is a real
Wow, look at
mess.
them all
It's
go.
foreign. The Lionesses will drop. Lex will fall. And we're down to our final 5. Just like that, we Thanos snap our fingers. Half of the players are gone.
Yeah, oh my goodness me. And still with a lot of eliminations, right? There we go, Bonfire getting taken out as well. Top 4 only. And it's Barce again. It's AOR with 9 eliminations. This is what we wanted from them. Gods of Anarchy going in, 4 eliminations. Kamikaze going all out there. Equivalent of a squad wipe coming in for her as Barce move in as well. Now Galatasaray again just waiting in the wings, but that is going to be Barce out. Done, dusted, 4 eliminations, 4th place for them. Not half bad for the last game of the night.
In God of Anarchy, they now wake up and it's Kamikaze with all 5 eliminations to her name. And they have the center of zone. They need to move ever so slightly down to the south now to be able to get into that new shift in stage 7. We will be heading towards that stage 8 point, but I believe we were predicting earlier here, and it's AOR a second time with 10 eliminations here in the top 3. They were the benefactors of that chaos. Still, all 4 players alive, Neptura.
100%. Really, really good work from them. This is what we wanted to see. That win from them, that carry by their teammate, really just brought them in fully here. They lose 1, but honestly, it's been enough. 10 eliminations, top 3. That's the best, one of the best outcomes they could have chosen for this last game.
Yeah, and here, God of Anarchy, it's really up to them to punish Galatasaray. AOR are trying to move in onto them. Now Galatasaray, though, turn their sights to the edge of that zone, and those 2 players, 1 nade through that building, through that window, should spell the end of it.
There they go.
And they do, indeed. There you go, Gods of Anarchy. It's going to be 8 eliminations now for Galatasaray. They've already taken 1 away from AOR, and they've made it into a 3-on-3. Both of them on the outskirts of that zone. That smoke wall, of course, really what Galatasaray are waiting for to dissipate. They want some more info. They'll have to move in now with their own. And Nissa steps forward. She dodges the nades. Now it'll be 1 down for Galatasaray. The next right side flank throw coming in is Anissa. Punishes through the extra peek. That information given note to, of course, the teammates before she falls of where those AOR members are. Now the nades, they come through. Indeed, that position found. Another knock.
Jeez.
Down to the solo. And there it is. AOR eliminated. Galatasaray win through the game. In Neptura, I think it was just Galatasaray really on a streak today.
Yep.
3 chicken dinners.
Yep.
Not in a row, but out of 5 games to win 3, that is consistent.
Ain't it just? Oh my goodness me. What a performance from Galatasaray. And honestly, their move today has been just let it play out. Just, you know, we will know when it's time to actually make a move. But for now, let's just chill. Really happy with how AOR played that. It just really came down to Galatasaray's superior skill with nades, I think. I think they knew how to use the nades based on the information they had, right? Or maybe it's just predictability. They were able to predict more what AOR were doing than the other way around, something like that. But at the end of the day, still top 2 for AOR, coming off a really nice win in Miramar. Not a bad way to start the day.
Yeah, I mean, for Galatasaray, they get those 21 points, of course. But
Yeah.
as you say, AOR, those final 2 games for them were big games for
Yeah.
their squad, especially right as we say when they're sitting out tomorrow. Getting those points, they're going to be a lot more comfortable with those 5 games they're going to miss tomorrow because they're now in a much better position, of course, to get into that final day to be able to get those points back with the at least foundation they've built for themselves.
Yes, indeed. 393 coming in here. Nice job from Bursay over here. Face here is gonna be our longest elimination distance coming in for the last game of the evening. 366 throwables. What? That is our
Yeah, so
largest
that's
by far so far.
do you know that's all the smokes at the end, Nepture. I
True.
mean, did you see the amount of
Yeah.
smokes that they had down AOR? I mean, I'm pretty sure that must have been all of AOR Silently's
Yeah.
loot bag they had by the end to create a smoke wall like that. As well, you gotta say, they had fights, of course, in the middle. I mean, Langer's Blitz was another one of those similar situations. AOR, though, of course, one of those teams in the final 2 eliminations, 6 for Anissa,
Mm-hmm.
and Nox will be 7 assists, 3 for her. She was doing so much, obviously, in terms of the support as well as
Yeah.
those eliminations, which is what you like to
Yeah.
see, a balance and not just stealing all those eliminations. I see you, Galatasaray.
Isn't that the truth? The mild shade over to Galatasaray. Love to see it. But look, it's really, really even, right? Because you've got Kamikaze with 6 eliminations as well. And then you've got 333 from Diva Logica and Hilal. Yeah, Hilal as well. So it's very, very even across the board. Despite all that went on, these teams were individually doing the most they could for their teams, which is really nice to see. But Highland, I gotta reiterate, that final just all full send into the final zone, and then we went from about 11 teams to 5 in about 10 seconds. That was insane.
Yeah, I mean, that was an absolute pile up. It was like morning rush hour or evening rush hour here, if we
Insane,
like,
yeah.
for these teams, right? It was a standstill of players all falling down. It's Galatasaray. They will be the benefactors of so many of those eliminations, 11 for them. Of course, AOR Silent Elite, the other team that was taking
Mhm.
all of those away, 11 for them as well, and those 17 points. A big elimination, so going over to a few of those other teams. I mean, Slime Machine getting 8 elims. They didn't get any placement points, but still up there with all of those
Yeah.
fighting that they were able to get.
100%. It shows you the importance of eliminations, right? Because they have done a really, really good job there, and they've been able to get those points, be in that top 6 for this game. And for the last game, that's really, really important. So you do see Dreamers and TPES actually going out with 0 points on the board. Wildcats, Shockwave, Fairway, and Foreign all with 1 point each. So some surprising teams down at the bottom there.
Yeah, and indeed, I think for the side of Dreamers, right, was one of those teams that they really were so close to getting
Mhm.
into the finals as a direct ticket. Struggling though today,
Yeah, yeah.
Neptura, in these 5 games. I think that we're gonna have to see them again tomorrow. They've got a lot of work to do in these last 5 games for them. It's not over yet. It's not over until the end of those 5 games. They do need a big performance, so they need to show us what they showed us on that first stage. Similar, I think, to the Wildcats and Shockwave, right? They've been
Mhm.
another 2 of those teams as veteran players on there, but we really want to see what they can
Mm.
do. Galatasaray, though,
There
big lead now
they
for
go.
themselves with that third chicken
Yeah.
dinner.
There they go. It had to have been, right? Had to have been them after that game. Really, really good job. Very even placement and eliminations, though. 3 wins on the board is absolutely insane. But look at who's right behind them, right? You got Barce, you got Lionesses, and you got AOR. Now, AOR are the only one in the top 5, other than Galatasaray, to actually have a win under their belts. So to be so close to the top team who have 3 wins versus no wins and just super consistent games. Very, very nice to see. To be fair to Galatasaray, though, 2 out of the 3 games were very low elimination games as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is also something, right? Because Galatasaray, they had a game where it was 3 eliminations for
Mhm.
them. The other two, though, pretty big for them. I think also Barca, pretty big for them too, Neptura. They've been very consistent today, which is something I really like. We've
Mhm.
seen them grow throughout the tournament. The first day was pretty rough for them, but in the second day, they did slightly better.
Yeah.
And now coming into stage two, they've really reformed, right? They're right up there in that second position with the side of
Yeah.
KL Lionesses in third. That MVP race, though, is we are starting to see who's in on top. Halal. 7 of those were from one game,
Yeah,
as
they
she will be
were.
in
Oh
that
my
top
god.
position. And the Lionesses in second, but Barce, third,
Yeah.
fourth, fifth position for them,
Jeez.
Neptura.
I mean, fair enough, right? Barce have been doing excellent work coming into today. We saw something similar from them in the first day of their group, though, as well. And then after that, they kind of fell a little bit in terms of their consistency. So hopefully they can carry it through to day two. But so far, looking really, really good. And, you've got a good team when 3 out of 4 are in the top 5 of the MVP race, right? 10, 10, and 9 eliminations respectively. So that's some super duper good work coming in from them.
Yeah, I mean, here Halal with the head is doing still a lot of the contribution.
Yeah.
Logica also equally much. I mean, more contribution shared towards them than the equal split of
Mhm.
25 to every member. So they really are pulling their weight.
Mhm.
It's also, though, I think the side of KLINS's Logica did a lot, of course, when you look back to specific games like the Miramar
Yeah.
game 4. That was where she really pulled her team
Mhm.
to that second position. So it's these individual performances that you're really looking at,
Yeah.
which is what these two players have really brought to the table and been able to make themselves right in that top 2
Mhm.
position.
Yeah, absolutely. It really comes down to individual performance per game, right? Because Hilal is going to be the MVP for her team because she had 7 eliminations in the Sandhawk. Logica is going to be the MVP for her team because she was the last solo standing for her team in game 4. So, it's not necessarily that they are doing everything every game, it's that they are carrying that team when they need to. So, that is really where you want to be there. See, my hair is not carrying me whatsoever. That one strand really not pulling its weight.
Like I feel you whenever you're trying to get the hair ready, and
Mhm.
it's like the side of my face, right? It's like this side, it just doesn't quite
Yep.
part how I want
Yep.
it. I know exactly what you mean here, Neptune, when we're getting ready for the
Mhm.
broadcast. It is we end up at the end of this
Yeah.
first day. I think what we're really looking forward to is now can also those teams, Neptune,
Mhm.
that performed at the top of the leaderboard today, can they keep that up? That's what we want to know from a day-to-day standing. Can they keep up multiple days? That's
Yeah.
what's going to drive them ahead of this
Yeah,
leaderboard.
and that's, why I mentioned kind of Barca. I'm kind of like, yeah, they did something similar, not as good as this, but they did something similar in day 1 of week 1, right? And then we didn't hear too much from them after that. So that kind of worries me a little bit coming into their next day. But the way they've been going, honestly, I think they've got enough momentum to keep them going. So we will see them tomorrow, I believe. Let me check that. Yeah, we'll see them tomorrow. But for Shockwave, Foreign, Phantom Lex, Slayers, AOR Silently, Galatasaray, God of Anarchy, Wildcats, and the Lionesses, they will not be playing again until Wednesday. So big, big challenge coming their way because most of those teams are at the top. It's like weird. The Group B teams either are top 3 or bottom 5. So it's like a really weird
Yeah.
dynamic where you got both ends of the leaderboard really having to do something. But
Yeah.
that conversation, Highland, is for another day because we are done here for tonight. Day 1, A versus B, is done here, ladies and gentlemen. So we'll be going now. That's the end of the broadcast. We're done. We will see you tomorrow. We will see you tomorrow for groups A versus C this time around, which is going to be a lot of fun. So thank you, Highland, for being on the show. I have been Neptura,
Always.
and we will see you tomorrow. Good night.